Guys, welcome to this is my other favorite lightsaber. I know it's not blue, it's green. As you can tell, I'm a big Star Wars fan, and this is the extended review spoilers discussion of Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker.
So grab your drinks and your popcorn because this is going to be a long one. Okay?
Yes, it's going to be long. And I tell you what, since everybody is about, pointing out the negative in the film and bashing on the film primarily, I think there's only 2 channels on YouTube that overly like the film, Star Wars Theory, which I like his videos, and I think like Emergency Awesome thought it was all right or good. No, good. And you are completely entitled to like the film. I mean, this is just opinions. And
not just opinions, Joe.
No, they're just opinions. Okay. And I wanted to show you my crystal chamber. But here's the thing. You know what, guy? If you want, because I got a lot of comments on my lightsaber on the last review, so if you want, I can show you all my lightsabers.
It's pretty sweet.
And I'll just go right here with what I just said. I'll tie this in. This film doesn't take away from my Star Wars fandom. I still love Star Wars just as much. It doesn't diminish my love of Star Wars in any way.
So this didn't do to Game of Thrones what season 8 did to Game of Thrones, which I agree with you. It didn't do that for me.
It's not that bad.
It's not like
horrible.
that.
Okay, I see a lot of comments in the last video that's like, oh, is season 8 all over? Not necessarily.
I'm still gonna
to that extent.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch the original trilogy and still.
And I could watch this film again because there are good elements.
Again?
So before we get into
Twice.
before we get into all the negatives and a little bit of a plot synopsis where we can tell you everything that didn't work, let's talk about what did work. Okay? One of you take it.
I think that they did a pretty this felt like a Star Wars movie in a lot of ways. I think surface level, if you're just going to enjoy a weekend movie, like you've got people in for the holidays, and you're not looking to delve too far into it, this is probably an enjoyable movie.
Yeah.
Now, the first time I watched it, there was parts of that I really liked, and then on the second watch, the cracks start to show a little bit, but that's mainly coming from my fandom. But if you aren't a diehard Star Wars person, I think that you may like a lot of this movie. You may disagree with some of the directions that the story went like I did, but I think there's beautiful scenes, there's cool locations. And I think it's acted pretty well. It's competently shot. There's a lot to like.
If you're going to the film to be entertained, as a lot of people do,
just turn that
if you're
off.
a casual Star Wars fan and you turn your brain off and you don't think about it, you could probably get through it saying,
wasn't bad.
Yeah, wasn't bad. I was entertained. Joe?
I was also entertained in one of my favorite characters. What was his name again?
Babu?
Babu Freak.
Babu Freak, yeah.
Yeah.
Easily steals the show.
He steals the show. I wanted some more of him. But overall, I did enjoy the film. It was a good film. Star Wars.
Okay, so you think it's a good film. I'm looking forward to your rating.
Yeah.
Here's what I want to point out. The best aspect, and when you look at this as a conclusion, we have to look at the main character storylines. I think Kylo Ren turns out to be the best sort of storyline. I liked his resolution. Even though things didn't work out exactly the way I'd hoped, that doesn't mean that I hate the film. And that's another thing I need to address is just because it didn't go the way I wanted it to go doesn't mean that's why I'm beating up on the film. I'm beating up on the film because the things that it attempts to do, it fails to execute in a good way, in a solid way, without plot holes. But I think Kylo Ren's story arc, his redemption, and now it mirrors very much so his grandfather, but that is intentional. I like it. So if you really think about the whole Skywalker thing, Rise, this is a story about the Skywalker. We've always been told that by Kathleen Kennedy. Then really, the sequel trilogy is just Kylo Ren. It's Kylo Ren's story. It's not Rey's story. Rey is not a Skywalker.
She just stole the name.
At the end, she says she's a Skywalker.
She's a liar.
I don't buy it.
I don't.
You're not a Skywalker. That's like saying, and Star Wars theory who like the film said that's like saying Obi-Wan's a Jinn now. I'm a Jinn. You just name yourself Qui-Gon Jinn. You know what I mean?
It's not the way it works.
That's not how it works. I know
she felt adopted
if
by
she
the
was
two.
okay,
that is such a small
sure.
out of all the things to complain about, and it's on the list of things, but it's so far.
Oh, that's not
bottom.
the smallest thing to complain about. I'll tell you the smallest thing to complain about. But anyways, initially I was on board with the adoption angle, but that she's an adopted Skywalker, and that's fine. But she'll never be a true Skywalker is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
And that reminds me of the fact that this whole sequel trilogy would have been better if she was a true Skywalker. Whether she was on the Leia's side or Luke's side, I think a lot of people would have embraced the Rey character so much more if she was Luke Skywalker and gave her the benefit of the doubt, or at least Leia's daughter. But we didn't go that way. Anyways, so let's get to some of the good things before we get into a breakdown. There's really good humor in the film from C-3PO. Poe and him going back and forth. I love how Poe has taken up that role of just telling C-3PO to shut up. Yeah. Babu Freak, as Joe pointed out, Chewie's reaction to Leia's death, that's what I was talking about in my review. The one part that got emotion. None of the main characters got emotion from me. No, but when Chewie was crying, when Chewie was like, oh, I can't do a Chewie. When Leia, I was like, oh,
yeah, he was mad.
Did y'all feel that?
Yeah, it was good.
That was good. And then Han and Kylo, their interaction, where he's like, Dad, and then Han telling his son that he knows. I know. And the memory of him. A lot of people was, oh, that's ridiculous. He didn't learn how to be a Force ghost and this and that and it's stupid. It's like, no, I don't agree. I'm very close.
He didn't have the blue tint.
Yeah.
Okay.
He didn't have a blue tint.
He wasn't a Force ghost. He was just talking to himself.
Yeah, he said himself.
And I'm very close.
I'm just a memory.
Yeah.
Bam.
Your memory.
Yeah.
I'm very close with my father and that connected with me. They did that in Man of Steel too, and though they did it a little less well in Man of Steel. Now that scene is kind of ruined by one of the worst lines in the film when he tries to do the whole. I know what to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it because they're trying to mirror.
Hey, member?
They were trying to do Hey, member. They shouldn't have done that because it didn't really apply as well as the first time he said it. But otherwise, that scene was great. I really liked the Force link between them two. They hinted at that in the previous film where he pulls water through, and then they really expand on it here. I know you have problems with it. You hate it, but I liked it. And then Luke and Rey's interaction. So, basically J.J. Abrams kind of fixing things and from Rian Johnson and the way Rian Johnson treated Luke's character. So all their stuff where it's like Luke catches the lightsaber, and he's like, you need to respect the... I hit that button.
He's like, but you didn't.
Right. I need to play this song when we get to some of the bad stuff, right? The X-Wing rising moment was really awesome for me.
It was just covered in seaweed. It wasn't broken.
Yeah, in previous thumbnails, and when they really zoom in on it, it looks like that X-Wing is broken, seaweed. But maybe it was just worn down as we saw in... Empire Strikes Back, right? Kylo and Rey's unique Force link team up. The moment when she puts her hand behind her head and then she comes back and then, man, fuck you!
It makes no goddamn sense, even in the Star Wars universe.
That's because y'all don't like the Force link. I like the Force link.
We're talking about the good. Continue.
Okay, one final good.
Well, wait. For me, one emotion that got me was when I thought Chewie died. I was like, really? They're gonna kill off everyone? That didn't.
That was a good thing. That was a good thing for you. That was a bad thing for me.
I got pissed. I got pissed because I didn't have enough time to process it. Just because I went no doesn't make me like it, because the very next scene they erased that, and so they played with my emotions. And not only did they play with my emotions, but they fucking cheated. They cheated.
Yes,
that transport was in. A second No, they cheated through.
You see two of them.
You do see two of them.
Okay, well, they do it so fast.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Okay,
they do that a lot.
It's a dem gotcha.
So they didn't cheat. Then.
I watched it on
All right. Well,
second
you like that part, Chewie dying. I didn't.
Yeah, you're a monster.
And then finally, Rey's anger. So they did manage to notice that at least, whether it was Daisy Ridley's acting or whether she was actually directed by Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams to show raw anger on her face in the original films. When I go back and watch Force Awakens, her intention is to kill Kylo. She does
lunges.
It's
Palpatine
treason
lunges,
then,
yes.
in her fighting style. And then in The Last Jedi, she's raw. And here, her intent to kill in Force Awakens is actually kind of surprising for a Disney film. She literally murders a bunch of people. But anyways, and here it pays off because her anger is even more heightened.
Yeah.
But the true origin of her anger, I wasn't about. Okay, so that's the good stuff. Any other good stuff?
Yeah, I think that I was actually really surprised when the opening crawl started happening. I was worried that the first 30 minutes of this movie was going to be him trying to fix all of the problems that everyone had with The Last Jedi. And the opening crawl actually really surprised me because I'm reading it and going like, did I miss a movie?
I hated the opening crawl.
So because what they did is rather than try to meander from this point to get to this point, I thought what they were going to do was just say, look, we're going to take, this is the point, this is where we're starting from, and we're going to go from there. And I was like, cool, they're going to do their own thing. They're going to they're not going to dwell on the mistakes that he thought were mistakes. They did sprinkle them in throughout, like even poked fun at Rian Johnson, I think at least a couple times.
Yes.
But I think that they try to do their own thing.
This is positive? The opening crawl is positive?
I was really worried that they were going to just try to spend the first hour and a half fixing the problems of the last movie.
Well, that's what the whole film was. But the opening crawl I thought was really weak. It feels out of place next to all the other 8 opening crawls because it's 3 short, poorly written paragraphs that are like, wait, what? Wait, what?
The Emperor's alive.
Cringe. The first one is the Emperor's alive. Not only that, but he's broadcasting his voice. Like, what a fucking dumbass. Why are you letting everybody know? And then the next one is, we were just kidding. Leia was actually trained as a Jedi, even though that wasn't set up in the Force.
That was in the crawl?
Yes, that was in the crawl. It was like Leia and Rey are working together and doing, if I remember right.
Yeah, but
then finally, the third paragraph was Kylo Ren rages across the gap. I'm like, cringe. Give me a break.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the specific things in the crawl. The issue.
You just liked how it started right away. Let's not exposition dump what the last 2 years. But let's expedition dump anyway and go really fast.
They picked a point to try to start with it because if they had tried to go back and fix all the sins of the first the second movie, they never would have started on time. It would have been a 5-hour movie.
Okay. Initially, my idea was to go through the film scene by scene with you guys, but I don't know. I feel like we should just do our problem with it, all these negative things, because there is a lot.
There is.
I mean, we got through the good things. All right.
Well,
I'm gonna go through all the problems that I had with the film.
Okay.
Okay. Or should we do the other method? Fuck.
Because I don't know. Because if you're gonna do it, do we jump in? Because we're probably gonna have the same things.
Okay. Alex, you have a very good memory. Can you take us scene by scene where we don't forget anything?
Probably.
Okay. All right, we've talked amongst ourselves, and there's just so much to cover here. Group huddle. We're gonna go scene by scene. Alex, take us through because he has the best memory of us all.
We start with Kylo on an unknown world, right? And
he's already tearing people up.
Rampaging through the galaxy, and he's just straight up murdering people. And it's kind of a cool scene.
Rages.
And he just he's force pulling people into the saber, and he's stabbing through people, and you see the Knights of Ren doing stuff. You see some stormtroopers, and it wasn't bad. And he's picking up something
on a red planet,
and we don't know what it is.
Yeah. He picked up a Sith artifact, and this is where I have some major problems. Because this film is filled with way too many McGuffins.
Yep.
Not one, but 2 McGuffin wayfinders. So this is a Sith wayfinder.
Yes.
And not only is it a MacGuffin, but then it immediately is McGuffinized into his TIE fighter. So without a blink, he all of a sudden plugs in this ancient Sith relic into his TIE fighter with some cables, and we're off.
Yeah.
It had a USB port.
Yeah, it's Bluetooth.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
You didn't see it?
No. And so he flies over to continue. Exegol.
Yeah, so he goes to Exegol, and it's just kind of a cool-looking planet. You see
Oh,
it
I
in
love the design.
You see it in the trailers. There's lightning strikes
It
everywhere.
reminds me of The Void,
Yeah.
and I like that Hellraiser kind of, triangle look to the paying homage to the square. This one, it looked like there were little windows and people inside it. These are where all the Sith loyalists, another problem I had, thousands of Sith loyalists.
We don't see the Sith, thousands of them yet.
Okay.
That is much later. So he comes into the giant temple, and then he starts to hear voices, which, again, this is one of the parts that this movie was advertised really poorly. Yeah. They tell us in the trailer that he's like, "Oh, I'm the Emperor, and I'm
they
also
show
Snoke."
the clone vat.
Well, we see pickled Snokes. Like there's like a head floating in there, and he's just like hanging out. There's like a rack of Hugh Hefner robes back there, and you're just like, "Oh, okay."
This is what ruins it. This right here made me pissed initially. My second major problem is the fact that Cloak was a clone. Basically, the most boring way you could have done it. I had a theory video where Snoke was possessed by Emperor Palpatine. If you go with what they set up in the comics, they have set that up. Yeah. Forced possession of Darth Malagus, not Malagus, but I'm not going to remember the name.
Which
but
one? The one before?
There was a Darth that possessed a helmet, and his spirit was in the helmet, and it possessed anybody that touched it. So they had set up these things, and then they had this Black Kyber crystal that they were really focusing on the comics, and Snoke, all red herrings because he was just a clone. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, then why does he look like that? And he talks exactly like the Emperor, so he's
pressed up against the glass.
There's two heads in there, and you're just like,
why are you creating multiple Snokes? And well, you just do one, they go bad after a while, and he sends more to replace him.
Snoke has a very short shelf life, Joe.
If it was a possession, then that would have deepened the dark side lore. It would have enriched the movie, and then it would have created this dynamic where not only do you have to defeat the Emperor or Snoke's real life body, but also in that Force realm that we've seen in the films, and we touched on that, and we've seen it a lot in Rebels and Clone Wars and things like that, and that would have really tied into the Jedi Sith and the lore and the Force way better than just you made a bunch of clones. I guess they're not the Kaminoans, but they're just like some rip-off,
they call
clones.
It dark science and cloning is what Merriweather took in the Rebel Camp references it later.
So he's like, I made him. Well, and that's all we know.
Yeah, I made him. Yeah, I defeated Snoke, and he's like, well, I made him.
He's like, I've died many times. Yeah. The Sith have like a supernatural thing.
Some would find
and then he creates two plot holes here by at once by saying, I'm been every voice in your head, and and I am in command of the final order. So, number one, why the fuck has he been just over here with a final order for 30 years doing nothing when he's got thousands of Sith loyalists, 10,000 ships ready to go, and then
unlimited
power? Why does he even need Kylo or Rey or anyone? He could just come out with all that shit and be done with it.
He just needs a body.
He's obsessed with being struck down.
Yeah, I know.
We're skipping ahead.
God damn it, Joe. We're trying to stay structured. Okay, and then the other plot hole is so the Snoke thing, and he's all the voices, and I lost my train of thought. But go ahead.
My favorite thing is when they do the final reveal of what he looks like. He looks exactly like the Grim Reaper from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. And I was like, what? You brought him back to make him look like that?
Yes,
like, this
he
is
looks exactly. They're doing a sequel, by the way, to Bill and Ted. I'm excited for it, and you're right. He looks exactly like that. They fucked up the way the Emperor looks. He's got the black lips. Why is he looking like that? Did they forget what he looks like? Now, some people will say, well, that's because the true form of the Sith looks like that. It's like, if that was the case, they messed up. They messed it up. And so then when he sucks the life, he goes back to, I guess, his true form. But then why, when Mace Windu was hitting him with it, did he warp into that? Was that his true form the whole time? And so he's not in his true form, I guess, is what it's saying at the beginning of the film. But here's what the other plot hole. I just remembered myself. It's like he puts Snoke as a puppet as the First Order, which seems to be a smaller organization, really.
10,000 times smaller
than the Empire. Where'd you get that number?
They said it. He's later in the film. They say with their resources, our resources will be 10,000 times stronger.
Yeah, you're right. Wow, they did give a number. It's like, so, but why then put out a crippled force as a placeholder to try to conquer the galaxy? Which, by the way, they do conquer the galaxy by Return or Last Jedi, because nobody wants to fight them, and they are the strongest
he could
power.
Still be afraid of Luke Skywalker, and he wants to wait till he's out of the picture. Look, I don't want to. I don't want to defend the movie, but like, who knows?
Okay. Anyway, so we go on.
Yeah, and then another thing, he just starts after that. He shows his power. He raises his whole
this
army.
This is huge.
I was like, wait a minute, he did all
Wait
that.
a minute, you just
all
broke
the
Force. This is, and here's the problem with the movie, that it's almost like Marvel superheroes a little too much.
Yeah.
And it goes even beyond the Force Unleashed, where we're seeing Starkiller, who is no longer canon, bring down an entire starship. Well, the Emperor, who is apparently not even in his true Sith form, at this point he's not powered up. At this point he's at his weakest point. Lift entire Star Destroyers effortlessly with the Force. Not just one Star Destroyer, but 10,000 Star Destroyers. Number one, why were they fucking buried? Number two, why can he do this?
It had just snowed.
But do you see? That is a plot hole. That is a visual. That is, I just want to do this because it looks cool.
It did look cool.
And you fucking broke it, which means you could have, when Rey showed up and you wanted to, defeat her, you go, and she's dead. Or Kylo, you go, and he's dead.
But what if he was just doing this and he hit the go button? Like in the back of the room, there was a launch button that he goes, ugh, and he just hit the button.
Alex is going to play Defender. I'm going to play Defender on when you start bringing up.
He was walking around with his IV.
But that is super funny. There is all the Sid Lois in the back.
Beep. Yeah. Let's make him look really good. Kylo's here. Let's impress.
That's what happened. He was
look later on.
Wizard of the Oz.
Well, yeah. And look, these are space wizards with laser swords.
So what does he tell Kylo then?
He's like, look, you need to go get the scavenger girl, kill her, stop all the Jedis.
Why?
Listen to me.
Why? We don't give a fuck about Rey or Luke. With 10,000 Star Destroyers, and each of them have a goddamn Death Star laser. Yep. Here we go with the damn super weapons again. We have this. The trilogy does this. I'm so tired of the Death Star showing back up, and they do it again here. If they're gonna do Star Wars tropes, granted, it's a Star Wars trope, it should be allowed, right? Then where was the hand? Why did no hand get cut off? Did you notice this is the only trilogy where no hand gets cut off? We get a hand cut off in the first one. We get a hand cut off in the original. No hand gets cut off here. God damn it! I'm sorry. All right. So anyway, go ahead.
And so he's like, well, why do we need her? And he's like, oh, she's important. I know who he is. And then the scene cuts, and then we go to the training sequence because, God damn it, Joe, she's not a Mary Sue. She's not a Mary Sue. She trains in the forest. And so we see Leia has been training.
Right. So this pleased me. And to you, it's saying, well, that doesn't fix Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. I think it does. But just because it explains the fact that she is so powerful because she's Palpatine's granddaughter, doesn't make her a more interesting character when she's perfect at everything. You could still have her go through a hero's journey.
Yes.
And this was stated, this was revealed, his intention. This was J.J. Abrams' intention, and I wish I had the exact quote pulled up here. And he basically just says that we thought it would be interesting if she... No, I'm going to pull up the exact quote. Please wait. Remember when I showed you, Joe?
Yep. Basically, internal struggle.
Yeah, I mean...
No. Don't say nothing.
Okay.
Do you remember any of the things so I can try to find it? On Rey being... it's Rey being a Mary Sue. Because that's when he's replying. Somebody actually asks him. Okay. I found it. He says, and it was because they wanted to have a female at the very first meeting with Kathleen Kennedy. The idea came up about having a female at the center of it. There was an inherent sense of, quote unquote, we've seen the story before of a young hero, but we've never seen it through an eyes of a woman like this. And that to me was the most exciting. Okay, and then they bring up the fact that, well, why is she so gifted? Why is it? And then the kind of a Mary Sue question. Yeah. He's like, yeah, spooky, right? He smiles. It's a fair point, and it's not an accident. It was intentional. Mm-hmm. He says, oh, this one doesn't include the full quote. One second. She's prematurely gifted, even for a Jedi. She learns things faster. It's spooky, right? We were going with a where's the goddamn quote where we were going with a character that's inherently good at everything, and she was just trying to find her place in the world. There it is. The idea was to tell the tale of a young woman who was innately powerful, innately moral, innately good, but struggling with her place in the world and forced to fend for herself every day. Mm-hmm. And so that's what it is. He made her all good at everything, but her main conflict is she's struggling with her place in the world.
Yeah.
But that is not as interesting as a full hero's journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think an explanation in the third movie of a trilogy doesn't retroactively fix how anyone should feel about the first and second film. If it didn't feel like a good character in the first film, if you didn't feel like it was a good character, just because you find out why, it doesn't take back. It's like you're watching this and go like, this doesn't make any sense to me.
So it's because she's Palp's granddaughter.
For sure.
But that opens up another plot hole. What about Palpatine's son or daughter? It's never revealed which one it was that was his lineage.
It's a son.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Why wasn't he? Does it skip a generation? And if it skips a generation, the force in latent force power, is it weaker than him? No, apparently it's more powerful. It opens up so many problems when they already had it set up in the comics that he could have done a midichlorian birth, as they set it up in the comics that Anakin was this immaculate birth, and later it's revealed that no, it's from Sidious, who he's sitting right here and he's like doing this, and he manipulated Anakin the whole time. That's why I took great interest. I will take great interest in your future.
Sidious was Anakin. So then she is
not
a Skywalker.
Sidious was Anakin. He manipulated the midichlorians to create life, and he created essentially Anakin without a birthing, basically being Anakin's father. This way, Sidious could have been quote unquote Rey's father without having to do the grandfather thing, and you get to use the Force again. You get to use what's set up in the prequels. You get to use what's set up in the comics, but they went with this. Oh, yeah, my son, he fucking sucks. You know, he's in jail. Red letter media.
So it wasn't Plagueis who created Anakin. It was the Emperor who created Anakin.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh. He learned how to create life from Plagueis, and then in the comics is revealed and implied that it's Sidious who planted the pregnancy.
If Palpatine started the Skywalkers, then Rey is kind of a Skywalker.
And that's just way cooler to think about. That the Emperor. That's how the Emperor passes his seed on him, manipulating the midichlorians.
He does that weird. He doesn't
actually bust. He doesn't actually bust a nut in some girl while he's Emperor. Old balls and old ball sack.
He does the Rey Kylo trick where he finishes and he goes transport.
Yeah.
Terrible. All right. So where are we at?
So they're training in the forest.
Right.
And then we find out that
which retroactively changes the fact that Rey Leia is well trained in the Force, well enough that she can teach others.
Yes,
and she can teach lessons. And assumedly, she taught Rey how to Force heal.
Yeah, and then we have a short mission where Poe and Finn are on a really cool ice-looking planet. And they're going to pick up a message because someone has a message for them, and apparently there is a mole in the First Order.
Okay, now this part I had a problem with because the ice planet leads to no nothing of circumstance.
Oh, we got a
It
message.
feels like
There's a
a
message.
cool area with this character who's gets murdered instantly. This I'll call him Tusk guy, original spy, and he's murdered later on in the film. And it seems like there's stuff cut out of this film.
Oh yeah,
Because
definitely.
we see
and don't forget about that
the
creature.
slug. Yeah.
yeah, this slug guy.
What's he called? Claude or something? And when they're in the Falcon, because they do this chase scene with the Falcon, right? And it's great because Finn and Poe are together and they're operating the Falcon, and Poe's like, oh, sorry, because he like scraped something and shit, and
Chewie's mad at him.
Chewie's mad at him, and it's great. But out of nowhere, they walk in the hallways and
Are
they're
you
like,
still fixing
Claude,
it?
fix that. And he's like,
He's just looking at it.
Who the fuck is Claude?
he has no.
No arms. He's just looking at the thing. I was like, how is he
I
gonna
guess
fix
he
this?
uses psychic powers. Is it
I
his first
don't
time?
know.
He's just staring at it. It looked like a character from The Labyrinth, which was like kind of cool. It's like,
Yes.
man, I love Jim Henson, but this doesn't make any sense.
Claude is not in the film at all. He's and then
Oh, he
creepily
is in
he's
the
in the
background.
background.
Yes.
It's creepy as fuck.
He
It's
sneaks
like
up behind you.
Yeah.
Hey, you smell
And you're
nice.
like, wait a
What?
minute.
Claude, stop it.
you see these promotional images with Wexley or whatever. J.J. Abrams, lifelong friend that he brings into the movie with him, that X-wing pilot, talking to him, but that's never in the film. So stuff got cut, definitely. And I guess maybe J.J. Abrams was trying to do a Jar Jar Abrams, and then maybe Kathleen maybe got one thing right and said, cut this guy out. Because, when it was revealed that this guy was on the poster initially and some of the promo art, people were like, what the fuck is
What
this
is
thing?
this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't just do it. They just drop him in last
So
moment.
he's cut out of the film, but they couldn't cut him out entirely.
Yeah.
Because then they'd be walking by and talking to a CGI nothing. Fix that.
This is where one of the first things in the movie that really, really bothered me happens is as they're running away from the TIE fighters, they do something new where they call light speed skipping.
Yes.
And this is bullshit. And Finn goes, how the fuck do you know how to do this?
And
And he
he's
goes,
like,
I just do.
yeah, I just know how to do it. I can go to light speed and then come out of light speed.
You
and
remember how big of a thing this was when Han Solo did it, and where he light speeds? He's like, I'm gonna do something. You don't want to know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Right. And
Super
it was
dangerous.
super dangerous. He light speeds into the atmosphere of the planet. So now Poe, out of nowhere, not only does that dangerous maneuver multiple fucking times into the atmosphere of other fucking planets, but he does it multiple times, and he gets it right every single
and
time.
the TIE fighters follow him.
And the
Yeah.
TIE fighters can
I was like, no
apparently do
way.
it too. So everybody in this universe knows how to fucking light speed skip.
So they're light speed tracking at it instantaneously and following them. I mean, it was just
and avoiding all the
I get to
towers
play
and everything.
defender and say that's because the TIE fighters were in their hyperspace wake. So if you are close enough to when somebody hyperspace jumps out, you can follow them through. Yes, I agree with that maybe once, but not through a dangerous maneuver into a jump into
3
the atmosphere
times, yeah.
multiple times. But no,
And then through
no,
monsters?
Joe, if that's how it works once, then that's how it works all the time. Okay, fine.
No.
But I didn't like it because it's like, how the fuck does Poe know how
it was
to do
dumb
this?
all the time.
There was no reason for it.
No.
Yeah.
Because you're only running from 3 TIE fighters. We've seen them blow up 3 TIE fighters time and time again. Jump once, shoot all these fucking things, or jump to your base and make sure you fucking destroy all these guys so they don't tell you.
Poe, in one scene in The Force Awakens, kills 6 TIE fighters in 5 seconds.
No, he kills 14. I counted
In
them.
in one scene, he just flies in a loop and kills all of them.
Yeah.
And there's 3 of them, man. There's not 6 of them. I don't know what to
Shit.
do.
But he's not the gunner.
He's the pilot.
Yeah.
Idiot.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All right, so he light speed skips everywhere. Then what
And
happens?
They
They land.
They get back, and then we get our first interaction of the main 3 arguing and being weird.
Yeah, so I guess they needed to drum up some conflict between the characters. We have this subplot where Poe and Finn get mad at each other
It's real
for no
weird.
real. Well, that's later on, but here. It's the conflict is Poe's mad that Rey's not out on the front lines. He's
Yes.
like, why are you here training? We need you out there. You're our best fighter.
Yeah, and you crushed BB-8 with a tree.
Yes.
Yeah, and honestly, Poe's right. Rey doesn't need fucking training.
She doesn't.
She beat Kylo twice. She beats Luke one-on-one
And
on
she
the
read the
planet.
books.
And she read, and now she's
got
read the
manual.
books. She's training her fucking self, and she's Palpatine's daughter, so she's inherently powerful and
Bam.
doesn't need to fucking train.
Best Jedi.
Get your
ever.
ass out on there on the front lines. I'm with Poe on that one. And apparently she trains and has this light side training, or but somehow gets defeated by Kylo later on. So she's in a more powered level than him because he's not training and she is, and yet all of a sudden, whatever. Okay.
So the other thing that I think speaks to your theory that there's a lot of cut out of this movie, because we know there's a bunch of reshoots. We do know
we
that.
do know the reshoots
So they
were-
keep hinting at that there's going to be this weird conflict within the group, that somehow they're going to get separated, probably between Poe and Finn. They're supposed to get really mad at each other. We see like them coming to like
Tension.
later on they like come back together, and it's like there was never a real conflict between you two, but this is the first time they set it up, and it goes absolutely nowhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it was just kind of, it was strange.
Okay.
And then so we find out that there is a mole in the
First Order.
In the First Order.
So then we go to the First Order, or talking amongst themselves. That's where the scene says we're 10,000 times more
stronger. Yeah,
powerful.
people are unsure.
They have a bunch of commanders. I did like seeing a bunch of different captains, lieutenants, commanders. We didn't see that in The Force Awakens. We saw it a little bit in The Last Jedi. It gives the Force, it gives the First Order more believability.
Well, it's not a bare
and
bones
everybody
crew.
is young as fuck, but that has been explained in previous comics that the Emperor captures children. It's even been explained in some of these films that they recruit young children or grow clones as well, or young people to be brainwashed. And I don't know if there's this one chick in the comics, and I'm not sure if that's actually her in the film. I think her name is like Sloane or something like that, and she was pivotal. And I think she was an African American woman, and I think I saw an African American woman on the council. So I don't know if that's
She
an
says his
Easter
helmet
egg.
looks nice.
Yeah. She's like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
like it.
Your helmet looks great.
Why did he put his helmet? I don't understand.
He smashed his helmet
He
in.
smashed his helmet
Before, yeah.
because Snoke made fun of it.
Yeah.
But then he realizes Snoke was fake, and Vader was fake. The one that was talking to him was fake. So why put his helmet back together?
Because he's a really big fan of the ancient Japanese art of putting stuff back together with like really
with
cool
red.
gold inlay, but instead of gold, it's red.
Oh,
so
he was
red is
doing,
bad. That's how you know they're bad, because
He
it's
was
red.
glittering it up like what the
bedazzling.
girls do.
Yeah.
Bedazzling. That's the word I was looking for.
Terrible.
Bedazzled.
Bedazzled.
I like it.
Yeah.
and so I gotta point out that J.J. Abrams includes diversity in this film. If you're progressive, if you're a social justice warrior, if you're a feminist, if you're any of these things that aren't necessarily negative. They're not negative things, by the way, guys.
No.
It's when you go to the extreme on that. And what I want to say is J.J. Abrams does it with tact. It does it with grace. Whereas in The Last Jedi, I felt like all this stuff was shoved in your face. The mansplaining, the talking down because you're a man and your cockpit and everything. Well, anyway, but here it's just a matter of fact. There are female stormtrooper voices in the First Order. There are females leading the First Order. There are minorities, blacks, Hispanics. I think I saw at one time. And I'm not talking
Did
about
you?
Red Letter Media Hispanic.
Did you?
Yeah.
What's his Nub? And it's not in your face. And then at the end we have a lesbian kiss, and some girls like, oh, well, that doesn't count because it's in the background. It's like for 1 second. Like, what the fuck? Did you want them to start making out and have an orgy right there in front of everybody? It's like, no, they're
it's fine.
They're gay. Big fucking deal. Moving on.
Look, Star Wars dealt with incest way before any of this other stuff in the.
Yeah,
they're
good
like,
point.
yeah.
Yeah, and then I think in The
No.
Force Awakens, when Finn is trying to run those two smugglers were dudes and they were gay together, but that was far more subtle. So JJ includes diversity and doesn't make a big deal about it because honestly, it's not a big deal. This is
be.
the way things are,
Yeah.
and there's diversity, especially now in canon, the Empire was not diverse until they started to fall apart, and then they had to include diversity. And now that the First Order, it makes sense that they're a little more diverse.
Turns out half the children you steal have to be women. Like, they turn into the girls that turn into women.
So I thought that was well handled. So we get that little general scene or whatever, and we see Pride staring at Hux because he suspects that maybe Hux is the spy.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be revealed in a comic that he already had that suspicion. and then moving on.
And then Kylo chokes somebody, but doesn't just do like the normal Vader choke. He's like, look, I'm going to one-up my grandpa. I'm going to choke you and then slam you to the ceiling,
that was cool.
which was kind of cool. I did appreciate that. Like, Kylo's become a little bit more brutal, and I like seeing him.
I don't think he's becoming more brutal. I think they softened him. In the film, brutal would be snaps a dude's neck. Is there anybody else want to say something? I'm the goddamn supreme leader, right? But it is Disney, and it is revealed in the comics that it wasn't. Whereas in The Last Jedi, we see some flashbacks, and it's implied that Kylo murdered a bunch of his students. In fact, doesn't Han Solo actually say that Kylo murdered the students in The Force Awakens? I have to look back at that. He burns down
everyone
he
at
burns it down and then took a handful of his students and left.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they actually said he does actually murder, because if you look at The Last Jedi and you look closely, there are dead Jedi everywhere. Yeah. On that ground in the flashback scene when Luke is kneeling and he's looking at it, there's dead Jedi everywhere. Who killed all those Jedi? It's implied that, Kylo and the Knights of Ren or whatever, or the people he took with him did that. But no, it's revealed in the comics that guess what? Kylo didn't do any of that. And because they wanted to soften him and make him a good guy. And what happened? Why is there a big fire? Did he plant a bomb? No. Sidious, from wherever he was, calls down a lightning strike, explodes the entire temple in a burst of flame. So Sidious can fire lightning from anywhere in the galaxy and blow everything up.
Cool.
Why didn't he kill Luke? Why didn't he kill Rey? Why didn't he kill Kylo?
Then you wouldn't have an amazing
Anyway, they
story.
fucked it up in the comics. But that's not in this film, so we won't talk about it.
Yeah, comics don't count.
Even though I just talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So we find out that there is a traitor. We see he throws the head of the guy that, we talked about, the Tusk dude. Well, all that stuff's on there. And
guy.
And so they argue about, like, look, we're going to be more powerful. This is what we need to do. And then he's going to go on the hunt.
For the scavenger.
Yeah, for the scavenger. And so we see that Rey and Finn and Poe and Chewie and 3PO are all going to go on a hunt for a wayfinder, because it just so happens she was just reading about Sith wayfinder in the little diary that Luke
There's
left
another
there.
retcon. So they realized that Luke wasn't really going to Octu to die. What do you think? I came out here, he came out there to die in The Last Jedi, but no, he actually came out there to study where Palpatine was hiding. Because he knew Palpatine was around the whole time, apparently, and he knew that Rey was Palpatine's granddaughter, apparently.
And he didn't seal himself off from the Force at this point, at least, and like all of the other stuff.
But it's drawn in the Jedi text that this wayfinder exists.
Yes.
Yep. The last location was
in the desert somewhere, and they go to that desert planet.
And man, this is hard to keep straight because we don't remember everything. But don't forget about Leia. So Leia is talking to them.
The scenes with Leia, this is where another part, like especially the second watch, really starts to fall apart. The Carrie Fisher soundboard thing they've got, where they're just plugging in the scenes they have, really starts to wear thin on, like, especially the second watch.
I thought it was well done the first time.
Yeah, because
I thought, considering the circumstances, it was fine the second time too. You saw more flaws in it.
It was really bad.
Where the dialogue was kind of written around her already pre-recorded line.
Yeah, mentioning the droids. No, don't tell me the news in a bad way. Tell me to be optimistic for me. And then there's this really awkward scene where he's like, "Oh, we're all gonna die, but it's great." And
you gotta laugh from the audience. Though.
Yeah, but look, there were people laughing at the commercials before the movie too. So like, I don't care what those people.
So my point here is that they said they would not use CGI on Leia.
Yeah.
They use CGI on Leia. Mm-hmm. They said they would not use a digital character. I'm being real now. I know we're talking about somebody that passed away, but it needs to be said. Somebody needs to say this. So they said they wouldn't do it. They did it. Yeah. They said they wouldn't do a digital character that's younger. They did it. So then why do you have to kill Leia in this film? Why? You killed Han in the first film. You killed Luke in the second film, and you killed Leia in the third film. So the Disney trilogy is killing all of our favorite characters.
And I felt
our
like
legends
this was not a good payoff for her to die.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
If you were
she gave her life, and I know we're skipping ahead.
Yes.
I know.
Well,
no,
we're
not going to. We're not going to. Okay.
All right. So Leia sends her off and says, like, you need to go find these things. And there's some awkward
Well, she
scenes.
didn't want to. She's like, I don't want you to go. She's like, look, I'm gonna blessing, or I'm gonna go.
I'm gonna do it anyway. Again, like that was a scene that on the second watch, like, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense for like Leia as the general to say.
I disagree. I liked it, but go ahead.
But she says it's the most important mission later on, like 2 scenes later. That she says that this is the most important mission. This is what everything was about. So they go onto that planet, and there's a lot of like real fun. There's like, oh, this thing happens every 42 years. Well, the original Star Wars happened exactly 42 years ago. So like, there's a lot of fun things there. They walk around this festival. They see children.
I did like the festival. I was like.
You were dancing in the movie theater.
I was dancing in the movie theater because I like to dance. And at that point, shit had gotten so ridiculous, and everything was moving so fast, and I wasn't invested in the film yet, because that was the problem. If you look at The Force Awakens and how it starts, if you look at The Last Jedi and how it starts, you settle in, and then you get rocketed. Yeah. This one is... You're rocketed.
Yeah,
the tempo was wrong,
Yep.
slows down. That's when it's best. Then wrong again, And so I was just like dancing. I was, man, that's a great dance. I want to learn the exact dance.
So they were dancing around. They eventually
then they had their little children puppets. That was so cute. I like those little puppets. They were great.
So do you like the children's puppets too?
Yes, they were great. Little puppet show. They were watching a puppet show.
Yeah, and then we get our
great moment in the film.
We get our first view of someone we haven't seen in a long time when a stormtrooper pops up and he gets crossbowed in the eye, and it's Lando.
It turns out Lando, his voice modulation is different, so you don't know who it is until it's revealed, and it's Lando.
I thought it was Lawrence
I'm going to take this opportunity to talk to you about Lando. There are so many. It's like Lando is barely in this film. Wasted, used as nostalgia member berries.
Yep.
And something's going on.
There was a ton of Lando stuff cut. I know it
for a fact.
It has to be because
his story is different.
There's scenes later on in the film that make no sense and like creep you out a little bit.
Now, I went ahead, I tried to do some research. I found a leak that originally said that Lando talks about how he had a daughter and a child. He does all the Luke stuff. So they explain, I'm on this planet because I was following Luke, and this is where the trail ended. But there was more stuff where I had a daughter, and she was captured by the First Order, and she's gone, and I don't know where she is, and this is where it happened. I'm staying here in case, she ever comes back, or I can find her, or, something like that. And he's depressed, and he doesn't want to be a general anymore, so that ties into his motivation. Like, why the fuck is he out there in the first place?
It's a cool festival.
Because he stopped searching for a McGuffin that he doesn't give a shit about, really, all of a sudden? No. It ties to his family, right? Yeah. But no, they cut that out, and then later it's revealed that Jana is his daughter. But then it looks like all the reshoots cut all that shit out.
Made it look creepy.
And made it more creepy at the end. Because at the end, what happens?
Let's find out.
Well, are we jumping to the end now?
And caress her like that, Joe.
She sits down next to him like awkwardly, and he's just like, "So, General, where are you from?" And he looks over her, and he's very charming. So it's just like, "Oh, who is this person? We don't know who it is." It's like, "Are you gonna smooch on her?" He's like, "Let's find out where you're from." And it's like,
no, I didn't see that. I saw it as dropping a hint. Well, now that I read the thing, it looks like they're dropping a hint that it could be his daughter.
The first time we watched, we had no idea.
You're right.
Yeah.
It wasn't executed well.
You can't,
if you don't know that.
Yeah, we can't.
We
should not be plugging in stuff from like comics and leaks and rewrites to try to make this movie better in any way. Because
talking about everything in the film, we remember we're trying to do it. He opens a little thing and he's like, "Let's go!" And the guy's like, "Okay!" And the little three-eyed guy's like, "Okay!"
Yeah.
He closes.
And so TIE fighters show up, Knights of Ren show up, and then they have to take off. And there's a little chase scene that we get through the desert.
No.
Well, he has his Hans.
Don't forget
his Han saying. It's like, I have a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, that was too. That was like, don't do that. Don't do that.
Stop.
But before that, there is a scene where we get our first Force link. So I
hated this scene.
The quiet, it gets all quiet. I like this scene. See, this is where we disagree on the Force link. Anyways, so explain.
So she starts getting a vision. All of a sudden, day turns to night for her, and she starts talking to Kylo. She's got this nice little necklace that a little girl or a little child.
We forgot to say that. Yeah,
gives her a necklace.
What's your last name? C-3PO is translating. She's like, I don't have one. And that sets up what this film is going to reveal.
Get it?
That she's Rey Palpatine.
It was a real get it moment. It's like, yes, we got to stop it. And so she has this necklace. They have a conversation, and they get into an argument of things, and then he reaches through space and time and rips a necklace off of her and then gives it to an officer and says, analyze this, CSI First Order. And they go and like, we've analyzed this thing. And this, the sticks, how sticks exist on every planet, but we know exactly these sticks
These beads
are from
stick.
this valley that happens once every 42 years.
And a celebration on one part of the planet and one culture on this part of the... And they do it in like 10 seconds.
Yes. Well, this entire movie takes place in 16 hours.
And then after they analyze it, they're like, send some troopers there. And then they cut to the scene and there's a trooper there. Hey, you! Yeah.
Well,
Whoa!
I'm willing to, there was some already there.
They did set that up. I heard the
There
line
is,
on
there's-
second viewing. They're like, there are some patrols around.
Yes.
Well, that's what tells
That's
Chewie
what
to
he's
duck
like,
because
keep
he's
low.
he's
Yeah.
7
Not
feet
only
tall.
does that patrol set up, well, they know about the...
But the way
they know about
Kylo
these people,
showed
so
up-
that's how they know the analytics of the necklace, because they
Yeah.
already know. That's how they set it up.
That's not what they said at all.
Big-brained move, but it doesn't execute.
Yeah, they don't set that up at all. They just like we CSI'd it, and it's
Okay,
from there.
so he knows exactly where they are, so they send troopers. And that's when we get into our first chase sequence.
Second chase sequence.
Yes, because of the Falcon. So then, this is where they fuck everything up. They're flying, and it's cool. I actually like it. This is the kind of... I was like, oh, I like these vehicles, is what I said in my review. I was referring to this like little half pirate ship kind of thing. I liked it. I thought it was cool. And they're like skimming on the sand. But what they do is they fuck up the lore again. They go like, they fly now? They fucking fly. You already fought a jetpack trooper in the lore before, in a comic book. Now, granted, it's a
Yeah,
comic
Jetpacks
book.
have existed in that universe forever.
Not only has jetpacks existed on screen before, but also in the comics, and you clearly tell that Kathleen and J.J. Abrams, they don't even read. That's why they got rid of the expanded lore.
They don't
because
care.
they don't care. They're not going to read it all, and you can't even bother to read the current canon ones. There's really not that many of them yet, and they couldn't read it because they fought those jetpack troopers before. As they fly now, because it was a funny, cheap joke, and some people in the theater laughed. But now it makes no sense. So now I'm going to show you that it's basically Star Wars, and it perfectly sums it up with this. Star Wars, they can fly now?
Yeah.
So that's what it is.
And then we get another
It's
force-
like forgetting what you've already set up and going in a completely different direction.
And then we get some cheap laughs based on stuff that like canned lines that they had from Carrie Fisher, where BB-8 does something. It's like, that's why you can never underestimate a droid because that's one of the 7 things they had on tape.
BB gets nothing to do in this film but that. And upon rewatching Force Awakens, I realized how much I loved BB-8 and how cute he was. And then he got a little cartoony and ridiculous in Rian Johnson's Last Jedi, where he's basically single-handedly destroying 7 troopers with coins. and beating people up, and then driving an AT-ST and destroying the First Order.
Don't remind
saving
me.
and but then in this one he gets nothing.
He opens a door once.
The problem is that they introduce this new droid Dio. And
holy
guys,
diver.
Dio! And then it's voiced by J.J. Abrams.
it's like Dio. You had to cut Dio because you needed more time for R2-D2, BB-8, 3CPO, all of these droids that you've already put in the film, and instead they want to sell a new toy. That is the only reason why Dio is included.
I'm gonna buy a Babu.
The
I'm not
only
buying
reason.
I'm not buying
Yes.
it.
I'll buy a Babu freak, but I ain't buying no Dio.
Hey!
And granted, he's cute. I like the fact that he can talk English. Hello, no, thank you. Because he's been abused. And I like it, but at this
He had
point,
one job.
it's too much. R2-D2 gets cut. C-3PO...
And those are the
C-3PO
main
is a
ones you wanted to
huge-
see,
C-3PO
though.
gets increased because Anthony Daniels wants his piece, but you're right, and Anthony Daniels does a great job.
Yeah,
but
I love
but
3PO in
R2-D2
this.
basically stay at the base. We gotta
Yeah.
do some BB-8 and some Dio. And R2-D2 is But it does make sense that R2 stays with Leia. I do like that, but we could have had more of that.
That's true.
We didn't need that.
So we get to a
So at the end of the
chase
chase,
scene.
we get to what?
They just so happen to fall into the quicksand.
Quicksand.
Just so happened.
Lando says, there's this guy. He's a Jedi hunter.
Yeah, from-
and he has some information, and he was searching for relics. So let's go to his ship. And his ship is just out there, in the middle of nowhere, standing
perfectly
on a rock.
working spaceship
It
on
makes
a rock.
no sense. It didn't get stripped or anything.
No Jawas there.
But anyway, before that, Joe, what happened?
So
they fall in-
they fall into this quicksand which is conveniently placed there.
Well,
it's like coffee beans they were falling into too.
It was
really
set
weird
up
looking.
in Force Awakens. It's a JJ idea because I think at one point somebody tells Poe and Finn to be careful in the sand.
Ray says it to BB-8 when she's like, you need to go that way, but be careful of this.
I don't know if this is the same kind of thing because it's on a different planet, but that idea has been set up before. But you're right. It just so happens to be this small spot right where they fall.
Yeah, it's like everything's like tan dirt, and then it's like coffee beans. It's like maybe we don't go into the coffee beans.
But since we're talking about everything, and this is going to be a 3-hour video, I thought it was funny how that jetpack trooper died.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, that one was good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be a jetpack trooper.
Oh, no.
So they fall through. They go into caves.
Yeah.
And then they find an old...
bones.
They
find
bones.
Ochi's
the speeder.
bones.
And Poe doesn't like bones. Don't know why. He doesn't. He said
Does
that.
he say that? I missed it.
Yeah.
He's like, I really don't like bones. It's like, okay, where are we going with this? Nothing?
C-3PO gets some great jokes. Like, I'm fine, too. You didn't mention my name. Is everybody okay? Chewie, are you all right?
Yeah.
Finn, are you all right? I'm all right, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they're just exploring.
C-3PO notices a Sith ornament.
Yeah.
He's like, look at this Mercedes. It's a Sith Mercedes.
Yeah, it's just like, what? It's like, no, it's a Sith hexagon.
And so Ochi died, was probably eaten by the worm, and maybe hurt the worm, and the worm has been hurt down there the whole time. I don't know, eating bugs that get next to
like
it.
10 years,
10
though?
years.
I don't think they explain how the snake got hurt at all. I don't think...
I think this
think
is cut. I think this is more cut. I think there was more with the worm. The same things that I was reading with Jonna being Lando's daughter, read something that Rey attacks. Initially, they fight it.
Yeah.
And then she heals it because she feels bad.
Yeah.
And here, it's just hurt randomly, and then she heals it.
Yeah, it was really awkward, and I think if we hadn't watched the Mandalorian and we weren't familiar with...
I knew it. I called that. I totally called that.
But I didn't... It's not that I didn't believe you. It's like, I don't think I like that because I think it would be dumb, and I did agree that it was dumb in this.
Yeah.
That there was just like, oh, by the way, I can force heal. What? How?
They overused it, in my opinion.
I don't know how I feel about the Force heal yet. I think it's overpowered. I think
Palpatine genes give you force healing and lightning? Sign me up.
That right there. If she's a Palpatine, how can she Force heal?
I don't know. I want that. That sounds
But
sweet.
she has a heart of gold.
A heart of a Jedi, not
That's
a
what it
Sith.
was.
What?
Okay, fine. But no, because she was taught by Leia. Okay, that's what I'm gonna say.
Leia knows
Where
how
did
to Force
Leia
heal?
learn how to do it?
Yeah,
from
apparently
Luke.
the books.
No. Okay, wait a minute. That's a plot hole. Found another plot hole.
There's
Who
a
came
lot
up
of
with
them.
Force heal? And you know,
Baby Yoda.
I just remembered how I just know how the Star Wars defenders are gonna say it.
Oh, no. I don't
And I'm about to give them their own argument on how to do it. It's the dyad. Everything explained away with this stupid fucking dyad. The dyad is only mentioned once.
It's mentioned twice in this, I think.
It's mentioned twice, once by Kylo, once by the Emperor.
Yeah.
And that's why, because they're just ultra powerful. They're more powerful than any Jedi ever, including the Chosen One. The dyad is the top, then the Chosen One, then Mace Windu, then Yoda, then the Emperor, then Mace Windu.
Well, if she's so powerful and they're supposed to be a team, why does Kylo suck so much?
Because he's not Palpatine.
He's mopey. Well, he's a direct descendant of Sidious. You say? Yeah. Where did Anakin come from?
Yeah, he is a direct descendant of Sidious too. And Sidious doesn't mention this. They forget their own comic
I thought it was
lore.
Plagueis who made him, but
no, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah. You haven't read the comic, but okay. So anyway,
no, comics are those.
You're
comics
right. You're right.
stupid.
But I
They
like
don't
that.
count.
I like that they expand the lore in the comics.
It's a business engine, though.
You're
It's just
right.
like you have
Moving
to
on.
have to buy this crap in order to make my movie good.
Okay,
It's like,
moving
no.
on. So they find the
They
dagger.
Heal. They heal. He gets out of the way.
They find the dagger
Yeah,
first.
it's a Goonies doubloon.
Yeah.
It's
they
a
just so happen to
stupid
land
dagger.
right on
This
top
is
of the
the
dagger.
stupidest fucking thing in the film. The Sith dagger. I wanted to start this review with that. I fucking hated the Sith dagger. I thought it was the ultimate MacGuffin. We already had 2 MacGuffins. We had a fucking third. We had 4 MacGuffins if you count the fighter control panels that put it in. And then we have a fucking Sith dagger. And not only does this Sith dagger, an ancient dagger, but it also has writing on it that tells you exactly where to go. But not only is it writing exactly where to go, but it's perfectly shaped in the shape of the Death Star destruction, and it's perfectly pointing to where you need to go.
Yeah, but Goonies was cool. You liked it when you were 6.
Goonies still cool.
Yeah, I like Goonies.
You can tell J.J.
Hey,
Abrams
you
loved the
guys.
Goonies. Doesn't work in the Star Wars universe. It's so trite and tropey and
Yeah,
fucking
it's
bullshit
really stupid.
when she holds it up and sees it at points. And then throughout the film, she's like, I need this MacGuffin. I have a feeling I need it. Yeah, because J.J. wrote it into the
Yeah.
script that you fucking need it.
Yeah. And then then after she grabs the dagger, they get out of the snake pit.
Yeah.
And,
And
they
go
are
to
ambushed.
the ship. They fire up the ship. That's when they find Dio. It's a working ship, really. And then it's Finn. I like this. This is a thing I like. Finn is heavily implied in this film to have force sensitivity.
Yes.
Or at least
love it.
a direct connection to Rey.
So he feels something, and something's wrong going on. Rey senses
We
Kylo.
forgot one thing too, though. Right before they were gonna fall into the pit, Finn's like, Rey, I need to tell you something very important.
Oh,
Yeah.
we can't forget that.
We can't. Yeah.
This is another thing. Do you see? We went through a small list of good, and we have a massive list of bad because the film is trying to do new things. It's trying to do its own thing. But then when it gets to executing the thing, it executes it, and it chooses the worst possible thing. So JJ himself sets up potential love triangle or love thing with interest between Rey and Finn.
Yeah.
It was genuine. It drove Finn's character. He had a character arc in Force Awakens. It was so well executed and done. And it's like, oh, we're going to pay off. I loved it. But it's played for a joke here. It
The
goes
entire
absolutely
movie.
nowhere.
Yeah, they do make fun of it later on, too.
There's no reason for Poe to be so, poking him over.
Yeah,
it.
because like once he falls
Especially
through in the
when they're
cave,
about to
he's like, "So
die.
what were you gonna say?" It's like, "Well, I'll tell you later." And then Poe
When
walks
Poe's
up
not here.
when I'm not here.
It's like, do they have a fight? It's like they had a fight off screen that we just don't know about.
It's all like forced conflict
Yes.
stuff. But I guess it came off as wrong because we argue all the time, and people in our comments are like, Joe, stop treating Alex and Joe like shit. It's like, you don't know what they do to me when the camera turns off.
When he's asleep.
It's actually Joe that beats me up.
Well, I believe that, but I'm nice.
No, Alex is super cold to me.
I made you food yesterday.
He doesn't even say goodbye when
that's
he
true.
leaves.
Yeah, that's
Alex has a problem with goodbyes.
There's no
True.
point. I'm going to
Anyways.
see you in like an hour.
Fine.
Goodbye,
That's-
Joe.
Yes,
I love you guys.
It makes me feel better. Anyways, so maybe it
was-
could have worked, but it didn't.
No, it didn't work. It didn't work at all. It was
could
stupid.
have, but it didn't. And I was so mad that they didn't pay that off. And I guess
skipping
they
ahead.
could do it. Maybe they're planting the seed for episode 10.
God
Do you
damn
think
it.
maybe they're going to actually
No.
try to continue? But I do love that they plant the seed for Jedi Finn. I want to see Jedi Finn so badly that I was like, man, that would have been cool. You know what I just realized? If JJ was in charge of all three, a lot of this stuff would have got shoved into the second film, right? And then the third film, we could have had a Finn Jedi.
Maybe.
Well, it could have just been force sensitive.
Commander General Finn on the forces fighting.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to do the force stuff because the force stuff should be left to Kylo and Rey against the Emperor.
Yeah, they did like Rogue One. They did it where it's like,
Yeah.
there's a little force sensitivity and it helps them
yeah.
out in their fighting.
Well, okay, so they do that here, but anyway, I love the Finn thing that he's force sensitive, and they pretty much confirm that now because it ties into the Force Awakens when Finn is awakened in the village. Kylo is walking past him, and then he senses Finn. He doesn't look at anybody else. And granted, Finn has blood on him, and he looks a little out of sorts, but I know, to me, that was force sensitivity. He sensed something there. And then when they bring up that Finn escaped, they were like, that soldier from the village, and it's like, yes, Kylo knows that Finn is
I chalked it
slightly
up to
force-
unease because
Yeah.
he was kind of uneasy.
Nope.
And
He was the only one not murdering
Confirmed.
civilians.
and
force
also when
sensitivity.
General, he's like, "Oh, I sense some unease with you, General." He didn't have the force. He was just
That's
pointing
not
out.
well. You just dispelled your own theory there because okay. Moving on. what happens next?
So basically, they get out and they go to the ship. They start turning everything on.
Yeah.
Everything works.
Chewie gets captured off screen by the Knights of Ren, which is again
that pissed me off. Chewie always goes,
He's too far.
and he's gonna take a few people out. This bowcaster is they're gonna capture him silently unless
and
they
off screen.
I get it. If they injected him with something, right, and he passes out. But no, his next scene is like
Space needles. How many roofies does it take to knock out a Chewbacca?
But the Knights of Ren don't.
They're
roofie him.
worthless.
They were.
That is later.
And we get a decent scene where
So Kylo is coming in a TIE fighter. Rey walks out there. What are you doing? What is Rey doing? And she's like, I'm going to buy you guys some time, basically. And, well, she didn't really say that. She should have said that.
I'll be back,
Yeah.
basically.
She should have informed them what the fuck was going on. So Chewie gets captured. And then, so this TIE fighter's coming. And Kylo, I can't wait for how it should have ended. Because they're going to animate the fact that the TIE fighter...
Yeah.
Or shoot. Start shooting.
This was a hilarious scene that reminded me of Monty Python because that TIE fighter is on its way for 5 minutes. She sees it and it's just like,
No.
And then it just comes back again.
Turn
and then it
around.
comes back
Y'all
again.
are bringing up
Turn
stupid
around.
criticisms. Mine is the best because what if Rey wouldn't have been able to do it? He would have slammed right into her.
But that doesn't make
the
any sense
excuse-
within the universe. She can do fucking everything.
The excuse is I'm pushing you. I needed to confirm that you're an actual Palpatine.
That's not- well,
so
he
I'm going to
was
run you down with my TIE fighter, and that's why she doesn't fire Joe. And Alex,
That's
he
not
was
his-
coming from far away. They don't do a Monty Python where it's like... You're just trying to be funny.
No, that
it
is they
was funny.
definitely
No,
took
they
for-
didn't.
You know how fast TIE fighters go? They walked
She
that
had time
distance.
to look
Shut
at
up.
it and then turn around.
And then start doing the running thing. And he didn't test her with the TIE fighter. That's not what he was testing her with.
Yes,
was
he
testing-
did. That's a part of testing her. Anyways, she cuts the wing off.
She cuts the wing off. And then they go to the real test.
No, don't stop. What happens to Kylo?
He's dead.
Nothing.
that boy is dead.
Well,
had a
yes,
helmet on.
but nothing can happen to any of these people because he was wearing his seatbelt.
So we see Jedi. We see the most powerful Jedi ever in the galaxy. Jedi Masters. Plo Koon gets Order 66. His fighter gets blown up, slams into things. We see Swoops get Order 66, slam into things and explode. Oh, those Jedi are definitely dead. We see his slam into the ground and blow up, and he walks out not only unscathed, but not burning or anything.
He didn't even
bones,
have
no
his
nothing.
helmet on. He was just like,
Yeah.
nope, didn't even need this.
No helmet, Joe.
Oh,
so
yeah.
takes away your helmet
Damn.
excuse.
Yeah,
Well, he
so-
should have died.
Another plot hole right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then she sees the troop transport because Finn yells, "Hey, they got Chewie."
They got Chewie.
And we see some other stuff. We don't see stuff happen off screen, which is really important that they didn't show us.
Finn's role in this movie is Ray! 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 Ray!
Chewie. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what actually throughout the whole trilogy.
Yeah, he's yelling a lot. Okay. And so she uses the Force to try to rip a spaceship trying to leave the atmosphere out of the sky, and it's just like, what the fuck?
was like,
She's
what?
insanely powerful. And then it's trying to take off, and then Kylo, they get into this like Force battle. Well, this is what I thought he was saying. I'm trying to test you because he's trying to get the Emperor. He knows that she's the Emperor's granddaughter.
Yeah.
He's trying to get the powers out of her, which he does. She force lightnings the troop transport
She
and kills
gets
everybody.
so mad. He just
Yeah.
So
destroys it.
this pissed me off so much because this is another example. The Emperor lifts 10,000 ships out of the ground, and Rey, who is untrained now, keep this in mind.
She's been training.
Yoda.
That's what the crawl said.
Yoda, the most powerful Jedi to have ever lived, is seen, taking effort with rebar from Count Dooku. It's taking him even more effort to lift an X-Wing, right? Luke, it's taking him super effort to lift an X-Wing. Yoda takes effort. Rey effortlessly stops a ship from hyper jumping and going full speed, and not only that, but she holds it in place.
Yeah.
And then not only is it hard enough to do that, but then Kylo is also pulling it, and she can still pull it. And I'm like, what the fuck?
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. Trying to spit. Force lightning comes out of her hand.
Yeah.
Now that, you and me think it's badass.
I thought it was super cool.
I thought
It was a cool scene. I didn't like what happened with it. They're like, "Oh, gotcha, Chewie's on there,"
I was like,
but
no,
Chewie wasn't on there.
She gets angry. Force lightning. I always like force lightning,
Lightning's cool.
but it's ultimately the demise of the Emperor. Isn't it funny that the Emperor
3 times now.
zaps him fucking self in the
skipping
face?
ahead.
Zap yo dumbass.
I
Let's
know.
not skip it.
Yeah, going too far. Too far.
Uses it, explodes. Chewie dies. She's like, Chewie! And that was the McGuffin. It was the wrong ship. The other ship is. And so the whole theater is like, whoa. So they got us, right?
Yeah.
And then Chewie.
They got us for 10 seconds.
And remember, Chewie had the dagger, so they're assuming that the dagger also blew up, which I don't think they ever referenced the dagger. They didn't look for it or anything. They just take off as quick as they can. And C-3PO is like, well, it's a shame that the daggers only lives in my memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't read it to you because programming.
It's not
No,
programmed.
because the Senate outlawed the Sith language. I buy it because I'm a lore nut. But I think the theater didn't buy it.
It was really convenient and kind of
Yeah.
dumb. Like, you can
But
do other
I
things.
buy
with
it, and it also lets us get to Babu Freak.
Babu Freak.
So they can't read the language. He's like, well, what do we do? Poe says, I know a droid hacker mechanic who can do it. It's on planet Kajimi that didn't end so well.
Yes.
So now we fly to planet Kajimi.
yeah, bad stuff's happening. The First Order is there, toughing people up, like roughing people up, pulling them out of their houses. We meet an old acquaintance of Poe's.
Carrie
Russell.
Carrie Russell, Zori Bliss.
Yeah.
And this was fucking stupid because she hates the fact, well, she knows Poe's there. She gets exactly where Poe's at. And I heard that you were coming. And she's so mad. She's so mad.
You left me here.
Left me, and I'm still digging my way out.
Yeah.
The very next scene, she's like, you need to have hope for the resistance. I'm like, but you're a mercenary. What does that
Yeah.
have to do with anything that you're doing?
We do get a really
But
cool
no,
fight
it was
scene.
because she really does like him, I guess,
yeah,
is what it
she
is.
likes him.
And I like the thing that it's like, do we kiss? Can we kiss now?
she's like,
And she's like, no, we're not kissing. But so she likes him, so she leads him to Babu Freak.
Well, but first Ray kicks the shit out of
Oh,
them,
fuck.
which
All
is
of them.
awesome.
That's right.
So all of their like Spice
crew.
Runner crew like pull guns on Ray, and she beats the crap out of all of them.
And she holds the lightsaber to Bliss, and Bliss is holding her blaster, and she's like, "You're okay with me?" I'm
Yeah.
like, "What? No." That's the female thing. It's like you kicked
It's like,
my
I know,
ass, I
I
kicked
know
your ass.
you
you're
don't
okay with
care,
me.
but I like you. Oh,
He's
I
like,
care.
I do care.
But I
I thought it
guess
is nice. I just got
I-
it done.
Is it a female thing? Because it's also a dude thing. I mean, in Matrix, the guy was like, you don't know a man until you beat him up, and then they fight, and they're like respect each other.
Respect.
And so they respect it here, but it was so short and truncated that I don't know. It didn't feel right.
Oh, all right. Well, so then they go to the place where Babu Freak is, where we get our John Williams cameo, which is important. He was the bartender.
I knew it. He wasn't in a ship. He had some kind of. I missed him though. I missed him in both times.
Yeah, so he's the bartender in there, and then they go down, and we find out that Babu Freak is like this big.
And he's the best.
And he's like, hey!
That's his catchphrase.
I'm Babu Freak.
Hey.
The voice actor was the same one that was Moaning Myrtle from Harry Potter.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So he tells him that the memory is going to be wiped. He's not going to remember
Just
anything.
go black.
So black. So they do. He does it, and then when he
But
wakes,
conveniently, they're like, "Oh, it's going to wipe his memory." But R2 backs up his memory anyway, so it takes away all of the weight of
does.
everything.
just like
It does.
Chewie, and then after we get this scene, Chewie's alive again.
We fight.
but it's-
There's a
Well,
there's a
we get
destroyer.
that awkward
Takes away.
scene. He's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" He's like, "I'm taking one last look at my friends." I was
that's
like,
right,
"Well,
that's right."
Well, your friends
Who
aren't
you
here.
who you looking at?
Like, who you looking
R2,
at?
R2's not
I was like,
here.
Your friends, your
Oh,
friends
you
are
mean
gone.
us?
R2D2's not here. Leia's not here. Luke's gone. Chewie's dead. I don't know who you're looking at.
Yeah, we don't
that's,
like you.
That's cold blooded.
He barely knows.
Poe doesn't like him.
Yeah, exactly. He barely knows them. Come on.
You're right. And
But-
that just shows you the problem with the thing.
It would have had more
they-
impact if it was the other ones.
They barely got to hang out as a crew. and
Or if
that
it was
shit-
really going to wipe his memory for good. They specifically
Yes.
say, well, it's going to wipe your memory for good, right? And he's like, well, no, I got memory backup. So
2
it'll only
days?
wipe
Yeah.
out 2 days with my memory. Not even 2 days. This whole movie takes place in 16 hours.
Yeah.
16
So
hours.
16
so,
hours.
I lose 8 hours of, every now and then you have too many beers and you lose 8 hours anyway. It's just
Yeah.
like-
So Go
Too many
ahead.
gotcha moments.
And then so they find out that Chewie's alive and they escape the
Well,
planet.
no. So then we get the scene with Zori where she
Oh, we have to go-
inspires, and we get yet another MacGuffin. What MacGuffin count is this? This is MacGuffin 5,
Yeah.
where she presents a captain's medallion or
Yeah.
a coin that will get them passage anywhere they would like to go.
And no matter what ship they're flying in, there's a slot for this very
Right.
specific coin.
So they show a coin apparently, or put it in the ship, or whatever they
Where'd
do
you
with
get that?
it.
Here, take it.
Yeah.
Even though the Imperials, even though Ochi has worked for the First Order before, apparently, they don't recognize his ship coming in. And so they use it to board Chewie's ship, but we're
The Star
skipping
Destroyer.
ahead
The Star
again,
Destroyer.
goddammit, because what happens? We get another Force link with Kylo Ren.
Well,
He's
that's
like,
after.
where are you?
No, that's
No,
after.
because that's where she senses Chewie, right?
She senses Chewie. They're on their way to escape, and before they escape, she no, because they get the Force link when she's on the. They make it to the ship.
Yeah,
They
she's-
get on the ship. They make it all the way to the Star Destroyer, and then they go on their little infiltration mission. So she separates because she's going to go
She
look
has to go
for.
get the dagger.
She's going to go get the
It's the
dagger.
reverse.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's going to go get the dagger, and then the other two are going to go rescue.
She's
Chewie.
gonna rescue Chewie. So then they go in there. It's kind of a cool scene. You know, they land. Two troopers are like, "Let me see your credentials," and they shot. I'm like, "Holy fuck!" And they come in here. They come in blasting. I'm like, "Are you fucking serious? A Star Destroyer has the weakest fucking security I've ever fucking seen."
Yes, I was about to say
There's
that.
cameras
Terrible
everywhere. Nobody hits a
security.
fucking alarm.
they had a- they had a
the
landing pass.
iconic Star Destroyer alarm or Death Star alarm. None of that. Everybody's dying in the hallways. Nobody hits the
No
alarm.
one takes cover. There's no
But they're
emotional
doing
weight.
a No Hope thing where it's like the Death Star, right?
A New Hope thing.
New Hope.
I was like, no hope. I was like, there's plenty of hope.
I'm sorry.
They're like invulnerable. They got cheat codes on for this thing.
Yeah.
They're just running around. They're like, oh, you can't shoot me. Eventually, they're like, all right, we've gone a little over the top. Let's get Poe right there. Just a little
Well,
bit though.
Yeah, they run into the corner. They see some stormtroopers. They're like, "You're not supposed to be here. We're supposed to be here." So
Did she do that to us?
Yeah.
I did like
I
that.
like that.
I like that. I
like
like the humor thing. I mean,
The
that's
humor,
cool.
all of the humor works in this film.
Yeah.
There might have been one joke that didn't, and I don't remember which one it was.
Probably a
but-
C-3PO thing.
But no,
because
no,
he was.
loved it. Okay, so
So they split up. She ends up in Kylo's room.
we're really glad you're here.
Yeah, and she's going through.
Show us where Chewie
Getting
is.
all the weapons.
Yeah, she's going through all of his stuff. She grabs the dagger. She gets Chewie's bandolier. She gets the bowcaster.
Yes.
Did she grab anything else?
No, that's
No.
it.
And then they link up, and she's holding the dagger. And I'm assuming
I know where you're at.
I'm
Oh, so
no.
that's
He has
where you're
he has
at.
no
No,
He has
he
no
doesn't
idea.
know.
He has no idea. She has a dagger in
Right,
her hand,
because you actually can't see the surroundings.
Yep.
It's only when you're bringing objects into the situation.
but she has it in her hand. And when she's fighting him, she's got a lightsaber and a dagger. And he's like, "Where are you?" It's like, "Where do you think the dagger
Oh,
is?"
you're pointing out that she had the dagger the
in
whole
her
time
hand the
and he
entire
didn't
time.
realize it?
The entire time. On the second time we watched it, it was just like,
Well, then he realizes it when Vader's helmet falls.
drops. He's like, "Oh, you're in my room." It's like she's got the dagger.
Get out
That's-
of my room!
Yeah, it's like you don't want your crush being in your room. That's so embarrassing.
Yeah.
And
Man,
then
time to clean.
So here's another plot hole or, contrivance when they escape. Okay, they run to escape and they bring the Falcon, but they use the Falcon's engines to hold back hundreds and hundreds of First Order soldiers.
Oh, we're skipping ahead.
I'm
There's something
sorry.
important.
Go
So
ahead.
they the Finn and Poe and Chewie get captured again.
This
So
is pretty impressive by memory, though.
yeah, so they get captured again, and they're like, just execute them, because General Price doesn't screw around, except for like, I want you to execute them when I'm not watching. I'm gonna go over here, but you.
He's a busy man.
Yeah, you go execute
Well,
them.
you don't execute them in the hallways. You take them to
You know
a room.
how many
and
people
do
just
it
died in the
nice.
hallways?
That's on accident.
Okay, well,
Continue.
and so General Hux is like, all right, firing squad. He has 3 stormtroopers. He's like, no, I want to do it myself. And it turns out that he was the spy the entire time. He kills the
But
stormtroopers.
Before that, too,
Oh, the dumb thing, yes.
Poe's like, "So, Finn, what were you going to tell Rey?" So, "Oh, you want to talk about this right now? Now's a good time. We're going to die."
Yeah.
And
So,
So it gets brought up again. I was
Again.
Like, so is he gonna be like, "I'm in love with Rey"?
I'm in love with
something?
Rey.
Nothing?
yeah.
Nope.
Nope. So then
General
why
shoots
the
the
fuck would Poe wanna
stormtroopers.
know
He's
that
like, "I'm
before
the
he dies?
mole."
Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So he's
sorry,
I'm the mole.
he's the mole.
And we're all like, what? And Poe goes, what?
Yeah, I knew it.
Which is exactly what the audience did.
Yeah.
And if you've read the expanded comics, like I'm the only one of us that
Yes.
have read this, so I'm going to keep
I have
bringing
not.
this up. Hux is the most murderous, villainous, hardcore First Order, raising in the ranks. Yeah, I know it doesn't make any sense because he's played for comedic relief in The Last Jedi. You see this change in direction? Do you see the lack of plan and vision?
Yeah.
So in this one, I guess J.J. Abrams does take a thread from Rian Johnson right at the end that Hux was going to kill Kylo until Kylo comes to and says, "Long live the Supreme Leader." Yeah. But now he hates Kylo 100%, and to be fair, that was set up in The Force Awakens as well.
It was set up; it just wasn't executed.
But he would betray everything. He's like, "I don't care if you win. I just want Kylo to lose." Mm-hmm. Shoot me in the arm. Ah, my leg!
Yeah, shot him in the leg.
I'm not going to do what you tell me, I guess.
So then they go to escape, but they get Kylo Ren shows up for the confrontation. And then, yes, all the stormtroopers...
But there's another plot hole because the Falcon comes in, uses its engine wash. It pushes everybody back, including Kylo. Kylo has to use his force powers to stay in place. And Rey, and don't tell me the last shot that the Falcon is in front of her and she's behind the Falcon, because the Falcon comes in like this and there's already people getting thrown back, including Kylo. It's coming in like this and she's standing there, and I guarantee you once you get the fucking DVD, she's doing nothing. Then yes, at the last shot, she's still standing there and jumps on. I'm like, what the fuck,
But it's
Rey?
she uses the Force. They've got like
force. Her force is more powerful than Kylo's force.
Yes, we know her force is more powerful than Kylo's force. We've talked about this before. They use like their force boot power or something where
she jumps across
and then they escape.
What did they say to each other?
Take my hand.
Come with me, and he does Darth Vader. Together we can rule the galaxy.
Yeah, we can.
As father and daughter and lover and lovers.
But we could also be kind of cousins.
And cousins and lovers.
Step cousins, second removed cousins.
Yeah, right. Because he is implied through the comics. He's a spawn of Sidious. So yeah. Anyways.
So yeah, she jumps
Game
out.
of Thrones.
Finn catches her. They go take off in the Falcon.
Yeah, and everyone is happy after.
Yep.
Right. That's what happens. No.
Are we running out of steam from our memories?
No. So they escape. The Chewie is back. They still don't know how to get to the Sith planet. So like that's the they need to go to Endor.
No, they got the Sith.
Well, but they don't know how to get there, right? So they have to use the Goonies thing on one of the moons of Endor, where the Death Star is.
And that's where they crash land.
Why do they crash land?
The landing gear is broken.
Why?
We don't know.
We don't know because
they told you the whole movie's
and the camera cut off there. We went for what, an hour and 30 minutes or something like that.
It's
and I
long.
guess my camera says fuck y'all. So we had to turn the cameras back on. Y'all guys better be watching this as a podcast because there's no way I'm editing scenes in here from the. Well, I couldn't do that anyway because the film just came out. So watch this as a podcast. If we can pick up where we left off.
Yeah. So our heroes are on the
landing gear broke.
Yeah, the aluminum Falcons.
And sorry that it was just my angle on that for 6 minutes, but deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they crash land on the planet. They get out, they walk over a hill, and then they use the Goonies dagger to line everything up.
This was the stupidest fucking thing. Yes. I know I've already said that, but I did say it exactly like that too. It matches up with points.
Perfect.
Whatever.
Yes.
And then Jannah comes up behind them. This is the first time we've seen Jannah.
Yeah.
She's introduced halfway through the film, they're riding on these horses, and and then we get some exposition later on that
exposition. We get a lot of exposition.
That it was Rey's, while Rey is climbing, which is cool. She's climbing through the Death Star, which makes sense.
Totally believable.
Because she's been doing it for 19 years on Jakku through Super Star Destroyers and shit. She can get there. But we get something that's not believable. The throne room is completely intact.
Mint condition.
Doesn't make sense. Like, entering the atmosphere, that thing would have shattered in
that's
the
ignorant.
door works.
Yeah, the powered door works.
That was the dark side. And then the McGuffin is floating there perfectly, but not before Dark Rey shows up. So I was so mad at this because they teased the fuck out of this, and I'm like, oh yeah, I love how they're flirting with the dark side with Rey, and that's one good element of this film. They do flirt with the dark side with Rey, but they actually have a lightsaber battle, but it's too short.
It was.
Yeah, she had a lightsaber battle with her.
A little weird lightsaber that clamps together. I think she actually does use it and like clamps Rey's lightsaber.
No, she has it, and then
clash.
it's dual, and then she unclamps it like a Swiss Army
and
knife,
then traps
and then,
Rey's lightsaber.
and then puts it back up. No, because then she just uses it.
It happens so quick.
Yeah.
I wish it was better. I wish she was like more evil.
She got
in
the,
her
She
face.
did the Frodo hiss.
She had the fangs.
Oh yeah, that
Come
was
on.
good.
The sharp teeth.
Okay, it scares Rey.
Sharp
She
pointy
falls out of the room.
And drops her artifact.
Yeah.
It
McGuffin
slides across.
Slides across the thing, and just so happens that our boy Kylo Ren is standing there.
Yes.
Okay, so another Force link transfer.
No,
No,
Kylo is
he
there.
was there.
He landed because he
No.
also knows where they are.
So he brought the TIE fighter.
he brought
Yes.
his TIE fighter
Okay.
there. Yeah.
Okay,
a
so
new
he's
one.
there the whole time. And she is angry. She attacks him.
Yeah, because he crushed. He's like, the only way you're going is with me. And
Okay.
he crushes it.
Crushes
no!
the second wayfinder.
She gets mad.
So our McGuffins go
Start
from
fighting.
5 to 6 down to 5.
Yes.
Anyways, or 4, and then so they fight.
They get the epic sword duel.
Epic sword duel, and this is a nice parallel with the Mustafar scene that we saw in Revenge of the Sith, one of the good prequel movies, with the lava and shit. You know, only
Well, the waves are way less menacing
Water.
than lava because if you accidentally fall in the water, you don't.
yeah, and water's going everywhere, and you notice, when Rey's doing all these flips, which by the way, like. Well, Obi-Wan and Anakin did fucking flips and shit, but these flips are even more impressive as they're flipping over water. She doesn't get wet at all. I guess Disney doesn't want to do the wet T-shirt contest.
Yeah.
I guess she force pushes all the water away while Kylo gets wet. He's just soaked. He just walks right through
thick
the
torso is soaked.
He's walking right through the waves, and Finn comes up. Ray does his classic Ray.
Of course.
And she actually
We have no idea how he got there.
pushes.
No,
We know
he-
he
They rode a horse.
They
through
took
the-
this. They take the skiff, right? They do say
Yes.
they take the skiff.
Oh, she's got a second skiff.
But how the hell do they get to where how she had to climb up
Yeah,
all
yeah.
this bullshit to get to where she is, and
Okay.
then Kylo had to literally land a TIE fighter there?
Uh-huh.
How the hell did they
use your
walk there?
imagination.
Okay,
Oh,
so
okay.
fine. We get an impressive scene. At least in Revenge of the Sith, it's shown how they get there. Here, they're just there. They're fighting. Kylo
Nobody had the
starts
higher
to get.
ground, unfortunately.
Kylo starts to get the upper.
Yeah.
Kylo starts to get the upper hand, even though Rey has additional training.
That's that one just
Turned
turned
off.
off.
Damn it, camera! The camera's messed up again. Kylo has the upper hand.
Mm-hmm. She's losing the fight. He's knocking her. She's down on her knees, and he's about to do his thing. And then we get the weirdest scene of exposition in the entire movie.
Pissed me off.
So you see the back.
Mascanada.
You see that Leia takes her headphones off, and then walks away. And then Maz looks at the screen and goes, "This is the point in the movie where Leia is going to go talk to Kylo Ren, but it's going to
She
kill
knows what she
Leia,
must do.
and
Use
she's
all
going
her
to
energy."
it's horrible."
We didn't need it.
No.
Yes, I know they're trying to tie it in, and they're being very clever that it's like Leia used all the rest of her effort to make this one last-ditch attempt to make contact with her son in the middle of a battle with Rey. So does Leia know that does Leia kill her son? She cooperates, knows that they're fighting. She calls out to Ben.
Yeah. And look, if you played video games in the 90s, I was killed many times by my mother when I was playing video games online, and she'd like pick up the phone. She just, your mom just like dial up
DDoS. Oh my God!
Yeah,
Kylo Ren's mom got DDoSed him.
in the middle of a lightsaber fight. Gets DDoSed.
Oh yeah, it really pissed me off. All you hear Leia goes, Ben.
But then she dies immediately after
Yeah.
contacting him.
Yeah.
So wait, Luke can project himself across the galaxy, but Rey can only talk for 5 seconds.
Oh, yeah, Leia can
yeah.
say one word.
Leia can only talk for one word. But then this pauses Kylo. Oh my God, my mom's dead, and he didn't want to kill his mom before. So I guess that makes sense that he would pause. Then Rey right then.
He drops
drops-
his saber, and then she picks
grabs
it up,
it.
and then she stabs him with his own saber.
Yeah, and he's shocked, and Leia is passed away, and he drops down, and Rey realizes what she's done.
And Leia's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She realizes
that's
that
what I
too.
said. She realizes
Yeah.
that Leia's dead
Yeah.
too, and she's like, "Oh my God, what have I done?" And I've crossed the line. So, and then a little bit. I just love this moment. There's a little bit of water. You'll see it when you rewatch it. It falls on.
It's the very first time. It's just like, what?
But it's cool because it's like relaxing. I love the waves. And anyways,
It's not supposed to be.
she's like, "Oh shit!" So she uses her force healing powers on him.
Yeah.
Once again.
Not
Not the last time.
Yeah.
And she gives a little bit of her life force to. No, that's not how it works. If you're a light side user, you don't have to give. No, that's how she says it works. She says
don't know
that
how
she
it
gave
works.
some of her life to the worm.
To the snake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now she gives some of her life to Kylo.
Mm-hmm.
So then Kylo comes back from the dead.
Well, yeah, he was
she
sitting
takes
there
off,
awake. He's sitting there awake, and he's just like, "I'm dying," and then she goes, "Bleh," and he's like, "All right, I'm no longer dying."
Okay.
And then she says something. She's like, "Look, I would have taken your hand before.
I would
but
have taken
Ben's hand."
Loved that.
Yeah,
moment.
and so it makes sense. It's like, look, there's obviously a thing here.
Mm-hmm.
Raylo confirmed.
No, I don't think that. I think there's a friendship there. I fucking hate that. No.
Well, I don't think
agree
it's
with
good.
that
Well,
friendship.
spoilers.
interpret it
Whatever.
as that.
Anyways, so I would have taken Ben's hand, and then she
She takes
She
off.
steals
and
his
is,
ship.
She steals his ship,
fight.
flies off. He's got the McGuffin. Still
But
in
she
the
doesn't.
ship.
She
doesn't
doesn't know
know.
that.
She didn't know it, so she flies off. While Ben, one of the scenes out of nowhere,
He starts to hallucinate.
He starts to hallucinate. He's dying. No, he's
He's
alive.
he's alive.
He's just shocked. Sorry, the camera's fucked everything up. So he's just shocked. Sees Han Solo.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he sees Han Solo, and I think this is a part that's pretty contentious between people because this is clearly not a Force Ghost. They're not trying to imply that it's a Force Ghost, right? It's a part of his
How
memory.
do we get Han to come back without training?
Yeah,
We'll do a Man of Steel.
we'll do
I
like a
liked
memory
it.
thing
I loved
where
it. Love this scene.
if he's talking to himself is what he's doing, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not a Force Ghost, he's just having this inner conversation where he's like, I don't know if I'm strong enough to do what I need to do.
I hated that line. Everything else was great in there. He's like,
It's a
his father
callback,
tells him,
yeah.
you can come back, come home. He's like, it's too late. It's too late to come home. He's like, it's never too late, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I don't know if I have the strength to do it because they're drawing a parallel to Force Awakens.
Yeah.
But I love this next moment where he's like, Dad, and
he gets
gonna say
he gets
he's gonna
choked
say,
up. He gets really choked up, and he can't get it out.
Dad, I love you. And, his dad, but he says, Dad, and his dad goes, I know. And that's Han Solo. Han Solo, I love you, I know.
But it wasn't Han Solo. It was just a memory of Han Solo.
His memory of Han Solo,
Yeah.
And
He's
that
just talking to
basically
himself.
inspires him to become and reclaim Ben Solo. And this is what I like. So I like this scene. Did you like it? No, you didn't like it.
No. He just throws
Alex
his
didn't like it
lightsaber.
either.
I didn't hate it,
Fuck
but it's just
y'all.
like
It
it's
was
just
fine.
Kill y'all.
Like I said, it was fine. Neither here nor there.
Fine. So then she leaves. We did skip a scene because we get the Janna and Finn talking with each other as they're repairing the Falcon.
yeah.
And she says that her whole company was ordered to open fire on civilians, and her whole company said no. And I don't know whether it's implied that she is Force sensitive because she's like, it's just a feeling. And he's like, I know the feeling. It's like it's the Force. And so that would mean that she's Force sensitive. Her whole company's Force sensitive. And they said no, and they were ordered
they
to
just
fire.
knew it was wrong.
Yeah.
But I guess in her case, they knew it was wrong. But in Finn's case, he was Force sensitive and also knew it was wrong. And so you get that little link there. And I don't know if they're implying it, but are they trying to do like a little crush thing?
She was definitely
Jonna
googly eyed,
crushing
like
on
staring
Finn?
at him.
I don't
Maybe
know
a
at this point.
love
At
interest.
this point, I don't know.
Everyone is in love with everyone
Yeah.
in Star Wars. Like,
That's
who,
what I
who
was
knows?
getting at.
No, keep it clean and where I can follow this one and this one, and then they try to put in this love stuff, and it worked well with Han and Leia, but when you half-ass it everywhere, then it's not gonna work.
Well, and then they had love interest in the Last Jedi, and Rose is not in this movie.
No.
She's like there. There's like 4 or 5 things, but they're like,
it's the funniest thing. Her explanation for I
yeah.
can't go with you. I have to study old Star Destroyer designs.
If we find him. When we find
Bull
him.
fucking shit.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, So that was the hilarious thing there. Anyway, so going back to Rey, she exiles herself.
Yeah, she's learned that she is a
Octo.
Palpatine. She's conflicted. She has no idea what she's going to do, so she lights the TIE fighter on fire.
Yeah, you're a Palpatine. She realized because she's using Force lightning.
Yeah.
He's told her, and
Why was the Palpatine trying to get a little girl? And it's like not just a little girl, his granddaughter.
and she has the Force visions is confirmed, so she knows it. She leaves,
She gets
goes to
mad.
Octu. She's throwing stuff, and
She's throwing sticks at a burning ship.
Well,
She's trying to make it burn more.
exiled herself. She
Yeah.
burned the fucking ship so she can't fucking leave,
Yes.
or so she thinks. And she's like, "Fuck this!" She takes the lightsaber, Luke's lightsaber, which is now hers because
Possession is 9/10 of the
possession is
law.
9/10 of the law. It was actually Leia's saber, but then because she didn't claim it. If we're talking U.S. law, Leia didn't claim it. Then it became Maz's saber. If Maz,
Yes.
tried to return it to the original owner, so it's
Now we're getting
actually
technical.
Maz's saber.
But is Leia's
no,
actually
there's this
considered-
great video. Star Wars in Real Life did
Leia's not his
analysis.
official next of kin, though, is she?
Yes, it is. Luke, Anakin. It's Anakin's. So then it goes to his children, his offspring, Luke and Leia.
But are they legally connected some way
They
in the
are-
Star
yes,
Wars universe?
Yes, they're birthright. Anyways,
But they're
moving on.
not-
Let's not get distracted.
They were separated at birth.
God
Are there
damn it,
documents
she
proving?
throws
You
the
started
fucking
it.
Did Padme have documents? I don't
Shut
believe
the
Padme had
fuck-
documents.
Watch the video.
No,
I'll link it
that
below.
sounds stupid.
So if you throw the saber and
Luke
he
catches it. Yeah, 'cause
and
it's-
it basically fixes the Last Jedi, and he says something great.
nothing
He
He's
can
hiding-
fix the Last Jedi, but they try.
He says that you should respect,
Yeah.
a Jedi weapon like this.
He was hiding his right hand, his arm, the entire time. I was like, does he have the hand?
Yeah, does he have a ghost hand? Does he have a metal
But
hand
he
like a
never
Doofor
showed
ghost?
it.
Yeah,
Never showed it. It was only this
Didn't
hand.
have the budget for that, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they do that, and he gives a speech to her, and he's glowing real bright. And this is I have this great theory, and my theory it was confirmed in this film that the Octu ghosts are brighter, more powerful on Octu because we see later at the end of the film the ghosts are a little more faded than here. We'll talk about that later. But he basically tells her, what does he tell her, Alex or Joe?
That we knew that you were a Palpatine, but we trained you anyway because we saw your spirit.
Both Leia and Luke knew.
And your heart was good, and who you're born to doesn't matter all that much.
It's the choices you make in life. That's a good
message.
And
good
you
message.
also see the training between young Luke.
That's right.
Yeah.
So then we get that little Leia retcon. And her reason for dropping her fucking training is terrible. And this is another thing where I read with the leaks, they had a different reason before the reshoots that made a lot more sense. She was pregnant with Kylo. The timing matches up perfectly, I think, in terms of, ages. But I guess but no, they make Leia more powerful. It was because she had a premonition
That her training would lead to the death of her son.
Yes.
and
That the next person to use the saber,
her lightsaber
yeah,
would save the universe.
so save everybody or something
or
like
some bullshit like that.
that. Yeah,
Exposition.
made up thing. And then
And
that
so
scene.
Luke, that's why Luke hides Leia's saber on Octu. I
We do
guess.
get a CG scene of Luke who's way too young for that scene because they use like a New Hope Luke, and if he's training her, it's post.
It's Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
Luke.
no, that's he's way too
It
young.
does
He
look
doesn't have the
pretty
scar.
young.
He doesn't have any of those things like this. He's way too young to
Have
be.
to look at it again, but okay. So, but Luke gets bested in combat by Leia.
Yeah,
Just,
I mean, but
the
they should-
Padawan has become the master.
But they CG'd her, didn't they? Say that they
Yes.
weren't going to do that.
right, and we
That's
talked about that
where-
before. It's like, well, if you could do that, then you could have done a lot of different things.
A lot of
with Leia.
other things with it. Yeah.
But they didn't want to. So they had both ways, and they ate their cake too.
Yeah, so he gives her the saber, saying, "You're going to take both. You're going to go fight the Emperor." She's like, "I can't get there," and he's like, "You have everything you need, and I'm going to hand you 2
The
McGuffins."
McGuffin
Well, here's the
is
thing
there,
that I
and then
didn't
we
get.
get our 6th McGuffin or a 7th McGuffin, the X-wing fighter that was hiding under the water the whole time.
Well, yeah, like that was his ship, but wasn't the first ship that she chopped up? Didn't that have the artifact?
That's what.
Yeah, but it
that's what
wasn't
had the
burned
artifact.
because
It wasn't burned yet.
the McGuffins can be
He
broken with
he
a
put
hand.
a bubble
but
on
fire.
it, and it was not destroyed. The Wayfinder, the Sith Wayfinder, wasn't destroyed.
Well, I was talking about the
Everything-
first time they encountered when Rey chopped up his ship in
What
the
are you
desert.
talking about?
In the desert, remember he like went rolling, and that whole
Oh shit!
wasn't that his ship that had it first?
Wow,
He's
got
Joe,
a new
another
ship.
plot hole.
He's got multiple ships or something.
So he
Okay,
just, like,
well,
took it
no,
out.
it's not a plot hole because you have to assume that off screen he took
He
it
took
out
it
and then
out.
put it on a shittier TIE fighter.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck.
I was like, wait, it just so happens
Unless-
to be this one?
Unless Luke has a third McGuffin
No, there's only
wayfinder.
2.
That there's 8. They say there's only 2, but who fucking knows?
I was like, wait,
Luke
how did
installed a
no.
new wayfinder on the fucking TIE fighter that she picks up. And to add precedence to my theory, it plugs perfectly into his X-wing, so it's Luke's McGuffin.
I told you,
'cause
it's got
it
Bluetooth.
exploded in the first one. So
No,
I don't
it's
know.
not Bluetooth.
Whatever.
There's wires and shit. And anyways,
Just
so she's a
saying.
mechanic that knows Sith. They all know Sith technology to link it into a corporation's X-wing fighter that we
USB,
saw.
son.
DJ said that both corporations are selling and they can link up with Sith technology. And so she uses it to go to Octu. She transmits coordinates because apparently there's a force storm nebula that is very difficult to navigate, and you will blow up if you don't navigate it correctly.
Yes.
So she sends these coordinates. We see, the rebel base. Oh, it's Rey. It's Luke's X-wing, and this is cool. Love it. Seeing her with the X-wing helmet. It ties back into the Force Awakens. Are we good on cameras? And she's doing her thing, and then are we good on cameras?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then so she gets to Exegol to confirm for herself, what's going on, to confront the Emperor.
Yeah.
And so she gets there, but
Simultaneously, the rebels are getting their plan
the
together.
rebels are getting their plan
Yeah, they got
together.
it from Dio because Dio had the way there, but not like
No, he
right,
has
so-
he has the map of the planet, but he doesn't have
yeah,
the way
just
there.
not the
He
way
talked to
navigate
Finn
through.
earlier, little another McGuffin, Dio.
It's a good thing that this robot knew
eighth,
everything
ninth
that we
MacGuffin.
needed.
Somebody count
Not
the McGuffins,
everything.
please.
Not
Do an
everything.
extensive one. And we're going to have to make top 10 videos after this because this has gone way too long. We might be at 2 hours now. Moving on. So she confronts Emperor, and this is unfortunately the worst part. It just doesn't work. The Emperor
Fell flat.
It fell flat. So the Emperor's like, welcome, at long last. Oh, he says that with Kylo. He's like, Empress. Palpatine, take your throne.
Yeah.
And he's like, strike me down. He says, strike me down, and your journey towards the dark side shall be complete. And though he was talking like the parody, there's this parody I showed Joe
That's
of
exactly what it
Emperor
was.
Palpatine, the roommate at college, and he's constantly like,
Being annoying
who
things.
drank the milk and left the carton? It was I.
feel the hate.
I can feel your anger. Strike me down. No, Palps, nobody wants to strike you down. And so he turns into a parody of himself. His plan makes no sense.
You ruined that scene for me.
He's
by
like,
the way.
yeah, I know, and that's what I was thinking of. Go watch it. I'll link that below as well. Anyways, so he's like, strike me down, and then it's revealed through lightning and shit that there's a bunch of people watching.
Like 30,000 Sith acolytes are just hanging out in this Coliseum.
What do they do?
Do they all have force powers?
Yeah.
Are they the Sith soldiers, troopers in the red armor?
Who
just
made all
without
those
the-
robes?
What
That's
the
so many
fuck?
robes.
And there's that many Sith.
Those
Like,
gorilla
what about the balance in the goddamn Force and Anakin and
Nope.
This is so stupid, and it goes way over the top. And so she's like, strike me down, and then she's like, she's great, she's getting her saber ready, and then he's narrating what she's going to do, and she's like, I'm not gonna strike you down. And
Yeah, she said that, he's like, well, your parents are weak, you're pathetic. And he's like, no, my parents are strong, they protected me from
yeah,
you.
he's like, you're
and
my granddaughter.
I'm not going to do this. And meanwhile, the rebels are there. They've showed up. They're trying to stop the fleet from taking off. Now, the big plot explanation is the fleet cannot take off because of the magnetic interference and because of the gravity wells and all the
Another
things.
decision
Which-
that is a
which-
contrivance.
They did it one time before. They should have just taken off from there. At least half of the troops. 'Cause
Yeah,
they already did one.
They took one
So
off.
I want to point this out to you guys that they have 10,000 Star Destroyers, which are basically 10,000 Death Stars.
Yes.
And one already exited
Yeah.
and went to Exegol and blew the fucking planet up, which, by the way, is a
Kajimi.
fantastic Kajimi, and blew the whole planet up, and it was a fantastic effect. I don't know if they used practical.
It looked like practical effects because
It
it was
looked
kind
Great.
of.
And I'm like, wait a minute. If they can do that with one ship, why don't they do it with another ship, and then another ship,
yeah,
and then
bring
another
like
ship?
10 out
But
there.
they gave you a 16-hour. It wasn't the 16 hours. Wasn't
That
up yet.
breaks the whole fucking film right there. That
It's like,
one
wait,
is already
why
out
just
there.
one?
And then does he go back? I guess.
Yeah.
No, he was out there. I think they.
And then he falls
Later
in
on,
the
yeah.
end, and that's a stupid thing as well. But fine. So we get these rebel fighters. So you're trying to tell me, and this is in my notes. You're trying to tell me that there's 10,000 Star Destroyers and they can't fucking destroy 27 fighters.
Yeah.
They're too small.
They can't take off yet. Their sensors don't work.
10,000 Star Destroyers couldn't destroy 27 fighters. Fine. There's no explanation, or worse, it's not believable how Palps has survived this whole time. He's attached to some fucking robot arm.
Yeah, all he said was
there's thousands of Sith loyals. So his plan the whole time is to kill him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because
But she did.
then his spirit will like go.
But she did.
But he didn't do the ritual. You got to do it like
I
my
don't
way.
get it. He got what he wanted, so
You're
he
skipping
said,
ahead.
"I've done."
You were skipping ahead.
I know. I'm just so.
But
it's
this
so
is
weird.
a point that we need to make.
Yeah, in 5 minutes when we get there. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Fine. So while that's
You
happening
guide
too,
us.
as
Somebody
well,
guide us.
we see
I'm
Ben.
getting angry.
We see Ben
No,
come
Ben's.
back. Yeah, he comes over there
Yes,
and
Ben
starts.
does,
He
yes.
starts running, trying to help her. So,
So
he
Ben
jumps
real-
into the thing, gets hit by these massive changes. Like, ouch!
Oh yeah, he's Ben, and he's a little awkward. He's funny. He gets a good
Now
joke.
he
Ouch.
is. Yeah. Now. Yeah.
Yeah. Now
And,
he's happy
so
again.
he's trying to get there to save Ray because he's like, my girl, your friends are dying, and only you can save them. If you take full command of the final order, then you can command them to survive and live. And so he's trying to give her a reason to strike her down, just like in Return of the Jedi, but it makes a little more sense, and they're trying to do the Return of the Jedi thing. But the fleet battle is nowhere near as epic as it was in Return of the Jedi. I was so excited in the trailers that we see all these massive ships.
Well, that's
and
the
shit.
problem with the scene is there is no weight because we know that 60,000 ships show up, right? At this point, the good guys are losing really bad.
Yep.
She's
So then
surrounded.
Yeah, and we see J.J. Abrams, a friend die, Wax dies, Wexley or whatever his
Yeah.
name is. He
Nope,
blows
Neve
up, and Poe's
dies.
like, no, and he's like, and it's General Poe at this point, and he's like, I'm sorry, I let us in, I'm sorry, but then that's
On
when,
your left.
On your left? What is on your left from?
Endgame.
Avengers.
Yeah, so the thing is, like, the end of this movie, they realized that people like the way the Endgame ended, and because it's Disney and they're not creative and they won't take risks with this kind of crap, they're just like, we're going to copy everything exactly the
but
way
it's
that
a
they did.
trope,
Well, yeah,
Alex.
but they did it this last
Okay,
year.
fine. He says, but
On
there
your
are more,
left.
there's too many of them, but there are more of us. Really, there are more than 10,000 Star Destroyers? You're bringing 10,000 rebel ships? Where the fuck were these rebel ships the whole time? So you're motherfucking telling me that Lando convinces the entire fucking galaxy to not only fight the First Order galaxy-wide, but when they wouldn't, after Luke gave his life, and now Leia's dead, and so your two most powerful fighters are dead, and now they want to show up.
Lando is charming.
I was
dude.
about
to say,
Lando is
yes.
so charming.
Yes, he's
He
got that
stole it
charisma.
from you, Joe. But
He's got that
also,
charisma.
but also convinces them to fight the Final Order in addition with a fleet of 10,000 Star Destroyers.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10,000 we can handle
Yeah.
that. Why didn't you handle 100 First Order
But you
Star
don't-
Destroyers? Wait a minute. To fight a Final Order fleet of 10,000 Star Destroyers in a force storm in the middle of the impossible to get to unknown region that you have to jump. Imagine this proposition that Lando has to be like, look, I need you to join me. He has to ask each and every one of those people if they would
broadcasting.
join
He was
them.
just
And then
broadcasting,
tell them
shirt
what they
off.
have to do when they have questions. Wait, we have to jump where? Isn't that dangerous? Yes. He manages
no
to get
one
the whole
knows-
galaxy when nobody answered the call before. I fucking hated it. It was stupid as shit.
They don't know what happens after you beat the First Order. What about the Second Order and the Third Order? Once you beat the last order, the Final Order, there's nothing
Then
else.
after
There's
final-
nothing else.
It was the
It's
Final
gonna be the
Order
final,
name.
final for real
yeah,
this time.
for real
order.
this time. Yeah.
So I looked in the ships and I was like, it's kind of cool. In the trailer, you saw the Rebel ship. You saw, Mon Calamari's and all sorts of cool ships. I was looking for the Star Wars Resistance Colossus, which is a car animated. It's only ending after 2 seasons. I couldn't find it. But it disappoints me so much if people are able to find that later that they don't show these things more. JJ says he's going to tie everything in. But it doesn't even really show things. Is he too afraid to show the Colossus?
There was a lot to show. I mean, this movie should have been
you could have easily shown the Colossus, in there. You could have easily shown in the trailer it's there and blow those scenes up and actually have a fucking battle. But we don't have a battle.
There was no battle, yeah.
We cut back to the stupid Emperor scene where he's like, he's like, y'all friends, and then Finn and Jana come up with the stupidest fucking plan. So they get there and they're like, we need to prevent the fleet from jumping. It's a radar. There's one radar dish that allows them to jump.
And I know where it is because I'm using the Force.
Yeah.
Yeah. and so then they're like, everybody attack this one radar dish that allows all these ships. And then the final order is smarter than the first order. They said they're going to attack the one radar dish, transfer it to our lead ship. And so then they transfer it to the lead ship. And then, oh no, they transfer it to the lead ship. Let's attack the lead ship with the thing that we already brought. So they already knew it was going to happen because they could see into the future. And then they land the horses on the fucking ship. They say, we can't, how do we get the horses in this? We said, we can't attack it from the air. We have to attack it from the ground. Luckily, I have a plan. And Finn comes out, he's riding, and Jana comes out, and she's riding these horses. And then the Sith troopers come out. And these motherfucking Sith troopers, I said this in my goddamn review, they're not even any better than the motherfucking white troopers.
Nothing was.
They don't even have force power, so they're worse shots, assumedly. They're the same fucking thing. And what do with that plan? They use a laser to blow up the fucking
Their own
dish.
laser, yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. They could have done that from the air, so that whole scene was fucking pointless.
But what if the shields, they were within their own shields, maybe?
Shut the fuck
I was telling
up.
Alex.
That's actually how that...
If they're within their own shields, they could have used the goddamn X-Wings from the air, get under the shields as they've done in Force Awakens, as they've done against the Dreadnought. Mm-hmm. They could have done it from the air. This was a contrivance in order to use the stupid fucking horses
I was telling
and to
Alex,
get Jana
though,
to do something.
Like, if the Star Destroyer just tilted a
little bit.
to the left,
All they have to do is like turn
like,
a little bit. Oh no, the
tilt.
horses fell.
Bam, problem
Joe,
solved.
are you kidding?
Yeah,
I wish you were
that's it.
next to me because I would have burst
I was
out
like,
laughing.
why don't you guys just tilt? It's like,
Yeah.
oh no, the horses, they have nothing to grab on.
This is a spaceship, right? Like we can like
Problem solved.
Wow, you just broke the whole thing.
Okay, you did it. You
The
fixed the whole
horses
movie.
can't grab on to
But
nothing.
you see all these decisions that JJ made that you don't need to make these decisions. You
No.
could have done them in a traditional Return of the Jedi battle where they're actually battling and there's cool fucking interplay everywhere. You have that many ships to make it a legit battle. Are all of these 10,000 Star Destroyers manned? I mean, I get he does have a lot of Sith loyalists, but only 5 of them are firing at a time. I mean, you can't take 10,000 destroyers and buy. Anyways, so what happens now? Well, the Emperor says,
Not yet.
Not yet.
Oh, I'm
we have
sorry,
the
I'm
fight.
sorry.
So Kylo finally climbs down
Damn
that
it.
chain, and he shoots a bunch of useless stormtroopers.
The red ones, yeah.
The red ones. And then the Knights of Ren, who've done nothing this entire movie,
And
come
guess
out.
what they do?
Nothing. They beat him up a little bit because he threw his lightsaber away because he's stupid.
Yes.
And so he picks up a blaster because he wants to be Han Solo now, but he's not very good with it. And so the 5 or 6 Knights of Ren just kind of beat him up real bad, and he's losing that fight.
Yeah.
But Rey and him link up, and then she uses like Amazon Prime the Force Edition,
Yes.
where she just like blinks him a
Within
lightsaber.
the hour.
that's cool as fuck. You didn't like that, Joe?
The
You with
implications of
Alex?
being able
Yeah, I
to
didn't
blink
like that.
items through time and space instantaneously
Because
is
that just causes
stupid.
more
Damn you.
questions. It's more questions. It's like,
No,
what?
it's not. They set it up the whole time that they have a Force link.
They have a lightsaber fight thousands of miles away from each other.
Whatever. We can disagree. So
Okay.
moving on.
So she gives him a
It's
lightsaber,
cool
and
as fuck.
she
He beats up all the Knights of Ren with the lightsaber, which, by the way, I got to bring up comic lore since I'm the only one that knows it. One of those Knights of the Ren actually has a red lightsaber. He never uses it. And I think JJ made a conscious decision to not have a Sith lightsaber pop out to confuse the audience. Whoa, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
But honestly, if you're taking risks, you say, oh, Ryan Johnson made me more bold. Then, no, he didn't. Because you're not taking these risks and you make... Okay, so he beats everybody up. That guy never draws his
he kills
lightsaber.
everybody,
He
and
kills
then
all of
he
And then he comes out, and then the Sith troopers start firing. The Red Royal Guard starts firing, but then they throw... One guy's firing straight up into the air. Something hits him, and it continues to fire straight up into the air. I'm like, is it too much to ask to get one, fight that's choreographed?
But she was using the Force to confuse
Somebody
him.
gets shot in the back, Joe?
I think Rey got shot in the back. She's over here doing this, and you see a shot just go from behind. It's like,
we'll have
you
to
don't know where
slow
it goes.
down.
You don't know where it goes.
But
Maybe
I
she
did like-
teleported. She teleported that
Probably.
somewhere else because she can do that now.
I did like her grabbing the bolt, and we see her
Her
redirect
redirect
the
it, yeah.
bolt. That was fucking cool, and it was like shot in an interesting way. And then the Emperor's like, sit the fuck down.
Yeah, he rips the power out, and he's like, "I'm better than
I'm
you."
the goddamn Emperor. And then he does Force suck, which we've never seen before. It's like, when did he learn this? If you could have done that, why didn't you Force suck off? Ooh, never mind.
Yeah, well, who?
Why didn't you Force suck Luke? Why didn't you Force suck Yoda?
training. He's been down there training.
Okay.
for
He's
He's been
years.
forced.
learning.
He's been practicing.
He's been practicing the suck.
And his weird.
He even
thing.
surprises himself. He's like, what did JJ write? I don't understand.
Yeah. My fingers
It's
are
my
growing back.
fingers.
Oh my God, it's the dyad.
Yeah, I don't know.
It has not been seen for generations. You've seen this before? You read about this before? You've known about this? Oh, it's never happened. It's even better than the Chosen One. Fuck Anakin. I want you to. And he sucks them more. And then I guess he gets all powered up. So and then that's when he goes back to his.
Is that his final form?
Right, his Frieza, Joe. And I was like, wait a minute, why did they screw up his look the whole time? No, Joe, it's not screwed up, because he does return to his yellow eyes and his big forehead and fucked up looking. But if that was his, I guess that was his true form that was revealed when Mace Windu was reflecting it back, and the fake projection of a real face was removed. And while he's weak, wouldn't he not have the power to do a fake projection? Whatever.
He had just come over from the Bill and Ted set.
He
He
gets
couldn't have
powered
time to
up,
change
but we
his
already
makeup.
proved that's not true, because he already had power to lift 10,000 Star Destroyers up from the ground.
But if you thought that power was OP, now we get to
Now
the
we get a
true
greater
OP.
power.
He has homing lightning, 60,000 bolts of homing lightning.
Wait. He says, Luke and Luke's father threw me into the hole, so now you, Skywalker, will go into the hole.
I'm going to throw you in my hole. I mean,
throws Skywalker into the fucking hole.
Like, I'll come back
to never
like
be
you
seen
did.
again. That would have pissed me off if that was the end of it, and then they end the film. I would have been like 0. I would have been like 1 out of 10. I swear to God. But that's not what happens, thankfully. But I thought in the
you're
theater,
jumping
I'm like,
you're jumping ahead.
I'm sorry. No, I'm not. He throws him in the thing.
He throws him in the hole,
Lightning.
and now he gets bolts of huge bolts of lightning into the atmosphere, and then they hit the sky, and then they only hit the good guys.
Yes.
And I mean, you're talking thousands and thousands of ships, and
They all hit the good guys. Immediately, it acts as ion cannons, and
EMP, yeah,
everybody's
just like-
things turn off. Well, ion cannon is an EMP, which I meant to say this. When the Rebel fleet shows up, the General Pride, for no reason other than plot contrivance, says, use ion cannons, as if we don't want to hurt the Rebels. We don't want to blow them up, because ion cannons in this universe does not destroy ships. It only disables ships. So apparently all these green lasers that are being fired out are ion cannons, because nobody fires a single ion cannon, even though he gives the order. So they're like, fuck off, Pride. We're going to fire green lasers and turbo lasers. Anyway, that's my nerdy lore side. So you're right. Then he turns off, then the Emperor fires ion cannons and turns off everybody's ship. Now,
No one
fuck you, movie.
dies.
they fall for like
No one
30
died.
minutes.
They would have slammed
Yes.
into the ground. They're not in space, because
They're
how
like,
the fuck do
they're
you
like
breathe?
feathers. They're falling really slowly.
How the fuck do you breathe on a Star Destroyer with your horses if they're not in space? So they're in atmosphere.
Yes.
They would have fell and slammed into the ground and got.
Maybe
Even
there's
though-
no
even
gra-
when they're
maybe there's a
trying to
gravity
reset or
well. And
something,
it
but-
Okay,
doesn't-
even when you're right, Joe. Even when he stops doing the Force lightning,
They need to
they
reset.
just turn right back on.
Oh, we're
Yeah.
back online. It's
It's like his Force lightning meant
No
nothing.
one died.
So your
Ray,
Force lightning
Ray uses Fort Lightning once and blows up the entire ship.
Oh fuck! On Jakku, not Jakku, but whatever fucking desert planet that is.
Yeah.
The ship blows.
She just goes
up.
zap and then just.
He was
So
using,
raising
he
him
was
more
u-
powerful
no,
than
he
a
was
charged up emperor
Yeah.
who's
ion lightning.
Yeah, he went Super Saiyan. It wasn't good
Oh,
enough.
That's what
it's
it
going to
was.
be in the lore in the comic books.
Yes.
Ion lightning.
Yes.
Joe, I want to play that in the video game. I want to high five you so hard. For you, it's
I'm not
ion
going to
lightning.
hurt them.
It is not very effective.
Yeah.
Do a Pokemon. Somebody make that, please. I'd love you forever. Emperor uses
Yeah,
iron
but
lightning.
I was pretty upset. I was like, come on. Now's your chance. Make it
But
a little dark. You slammed a stormship trooper into the wall and
Yeah.
destroyed him.
Blew him up.
Show a couple of
something.
some tension.
They don't. Everybody powers down.
Then powers up.
And you're telling me at this point the final order does not fire any turbo lasers.
No.
They're like, they've got disabled. Stop firing.
Yes.
Even though you need it, they're locked in dogfighting. They just need one opportunity.
That's one hell of a maneuver. If you just start flying and then you just fall out of the sky, how do you? I mean, that's a good.
So here's what happened, Joe. The Emperor actually disabled the rebel ships and the gun weapon systems only on his own ships. Though they were perfect, they're allowed. The engines are allowed to keep going, but not the weapon systems.
The ion lightning can't remove plot armor. That's
You
what it is.
understand why I gave this film a low rating now, and why people are like, "Wait, what?" Okay, he stops the force lightning. Why?
Ray stands up.
Ray, he's surprised.
Well, she's staring at the sky. And she's looking at the lighting.
Crying, my friend.
And then she's looking like deeper into space. And it calls back to a scene earlier where she's trying to contact the Jedi of old, all the old Force ghosts. And
She was force training, so be with me.
yeah, be with me. And so she just starts chanting that again, be with me. And then she starts to hear voices. And we get this really kind of cool
This
scene
is cool as fuck.
where Qui-Gon and Anakin
Yes.
and Mace Windu is there.
Ahsoka.
Yeah, I mean, we get people from Clone, like we get people from.
even people that we don't know that did the.
I had to look stuff up on IMDb. Who the hell was that?
It was like
Yeah, I was like,
Shakti
wait, who's that?
And Hassan. I don't know all the different names. Yoda. The one I was looking
Baby
for.
Yoda.
There was two I was.
I
Looking
want to hear a baby giggle. So it's like,
That would have been so cool,
Yeah.
Alex. If you're gonna do it, do everything. He's
Yeah.
alive at this time. Qui-Gon. I was like,
Qui-Gon
oh,
was
man,
there,
I nobody ever references, well, except for Obi-Wan. I love Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon's
Even though
spoken.
he's so strict
Yeah.
and stoic, but he's there, or he says something. And then also Anakin.
yeah.
Hayden Christensen's voice. And I was like, cool, but honestly, I wanted a Force Ghost Con. I wanted Force Ghost Con
or at least
2019.
at the very end
Because
scene or something.
all we're doing is we're just looking at stars and we're listening to voices, and you don't know if you're not a hardcore Star Wars fan. You may not be able to pick these
I
voices.
am a
out.
hardcore Star Wars fan, and there was
It
two
was
or three
hard
that
as
was like I
fuck.
had to look up. I was like, who the fuck was that?
Right. So why didn't you go full on and show? And this would let all the haters, even though we've been doing the most hating, shut their mouths
Tough
and
love.
say it's
Tough
not
love.
Rey. It's not Rey who defeated the Emperor herself. Rey's OP. No, she had all of the combined Jedi will and effort, and then Sith and Palpatine even says this at one point. I am all the Sith, and I want to put my Sith in you. I will transfer my essence into your body and join me. That's what he says. And she's
I mean,
like,
yeah.
I am all the Sith, and she goes, and I am all
Iron
the
Man.
No,
It's exactly the same goddamn scene.
I am all the Jedi.
And I am Iron Man.
And
She
then
says it
she,
after.
and then she, the whole time she was secretly lifting Ben Solo's lightsaber,
Leia, Luke's.
Rey's
Leia,
lightsaber
one of
now,
those.
and uses Rey's and Leia's, Luke's and Leia's. We'll just say for thematic purposes. Crosses does an X. Oh
Yeah, she
no!
crossed the streams.
Look at how powerful it was when Mace Windu used one. Now she's using two.
Yeah.
And the Emperor's
all
like,
the Jedi.
oh no!
Yeah, and he starts zapping his own face.
And then he's still zapping, and he continues to zap while he's I am zapping. I can't stop. Oh, once I start, I can't stop.
It's like peeing, man. That's what it
And
is.
this is what I said.
Force lightning is like peeing.
Yeah,
Got
what's
it.
it-
All right.
The Emperor gets his own face 3 times at the third
Yeah.
movie of
And
each of
he's
these
dead.
trilogies. He hits his own face with his lightning. So this time he fucking melts away. Even though he could stop using your ion lightning, it doesn't do that. The ion lightning
No,
is
it shouldn't
super
have.
effective.
Well, this was blue lightning. It wasn't purple lightning.
Oh, right. So this was the death lightning.
Death lightning. Yeah, he was using ion lightning. the
Use
first
death lightning. It is super effective. Not against lightsabers though. Kyber crystals say, "Fuck that shit off, out of here," and reflects back in his face. She pushes it. Boom. He's destroyed.
Which is what he wanted.
And all of the wanted.
And all of the X-Wings turn back on, and all the ships turn back on, and it's what he wanted.
I don't get it.
So the Emperor wins.
Yes. So his essence is still out there somewhere.
But there was a ritual, right?
Wait a minute.
Or something, I don't know.
Oh.
He said he must said something like you have to complete the ritual.
Oh. See what it was like.
Is that what they're going to do for episode 10?
Oh, there better not be an episode
If this
10.
was overly successful and makes a bunch of money,
It will.
you think? That's why we're not doing trilogies anymore. Surprise, we weren't doing trilogies anymore on the original Skywalker trilogy. The Skywalker trilogy is continuing. I don't know. Did Palpatine really win?
Because that's all he wanted. Strike me down, kill me. But unless, like Alex was saying, it has to be a ritual.
He did say
strike
ritual.
Me down from left to right.
Yeah.
Not from right to left.
Yeah.
It has to be a certain way.
Yeah.
He has to die in a certain way with
right
the lights
here.
That's why he narrates everything for you.
I was like, no, you're doing it wrong.
That's another super parody.
So now he's dead.
How it should have ended. Please put that in your video. Somebody submit this for the TIE fighter and the very specific way he dies. But okay, so Yoda sent me this.
He has to be alive.
Yoda sent me this. With his death, Pimp Yoda, Palpatine's victory is complete. The Jedi Order has been completely destroyed. The Skywalkers are dead. The Sith are gone. The Jedi teachings are now misunderstood and perverted by an emotional, unstable... I don't know.
Palpatine is...
And even the Skywalker name and hold stand has been stolen by Palpatine's grand... Okay, they really hate Rey. See, this is the problem. Some people really hate Rey, and they take this shit too far. When I think that she was handled well, and
sometimes.
Sometimes, you're right. But it really put people off when you tarnish other characters and push them off, and Rey's better than them. It makes you resent Rey as a lifelong fan, and partially somebody whose feelings can get hurt or triggered. You take it out on Rey, and I understand it.
Yeah, because you go through this long ass journey of years and years of Luke's story,
and
then
what
all of a sudden that happened. You're
right.
Like, come on.
She's better than Luke. She's better than
Leia.
Training. She's better than the Emperor. She's better than
Everyone
all the Jedi
It's
we've ever seen.
It's like lazy and inappropriate
and
writing.
she's already perfect, and the only piece that she needed is who is she? Oh, she finds out she's the most powerful entity that's ever lived. The Emperor was fucking pimp as shit. And this whole message is be proud of who you are, and she's not proud of who she is.
She changes her name.
Holy fuck! She could have just she changes her fucking name. She could have said, "You know what? I am Rey Palpatine.
I'm taking it back.
I'm taking this shit back." But no, she throws that name away and she becomes a Skywalker. She's not a Skywalker.
She just want to get in trouble for trespassing.
Oh yeah, my name is Alex.
What's your
name?
name?
My name is Alex now. I'm done.
You're taking
Alex.
It's a good name.
No,
Call me Alex.
Joe. Your other Alex.
Call me
other
Alex.
Alex.
No.
It's got to go in front.
She did it. Why can't I?
Yeah. No, you can't. Okay. Anyways, so Palpatine wins.
Won.
No, he loses.
No.
Because
he did.
Dead. He's fucking
but
dead.
He's died many times.
He didn't do a specific...
But
it was
the Skywalkers are dead. Rey Palpatine
theory,
is the only one
Star
left.
Wars theory, he's a clone.
He's just going to come back. They had a bunch of pickled
He doesn't
Snokes.
look like Snoke. This was the perfect clone.
What? No.
No.
There was a pickled. There was
a
vat of Snokes. There's probably another vat of Palpatines,
right,
and he just jumps into a new one.
So why does he invent some Palpatines and Palpatines?
He also said he's like I've died many times.
But by the way, when
he died again,
when he takes the life suck, apparently life suck gives him new badass robes.
Yeah, with the red velvet.
It was real nice.
Damn,
I did like
that. comes with the red velvet
I was
option.
like, I want that.
Life suck red velvet option, and even like a little Darth Vader belt too. Like,
I'm surprised he didn't have like a gold chain.
Yes, there's a real thick chain. Yeah,
has some hair.
I want Adidas tracksuit where he's just like, I'm pimp shit.
That reminds me of Star Wars Theory's shirt where it's Emperor Palpatine and he's wearing a gold chain. It's like Order 66. He's got a big Order 66 there.
Yeah, should have been that.
Fuck. Anyways. It's stupid as shit.
And so she beats him. And then she dies.
But it's not Rey, so don't and I brought up this point where there's a faction of people that fucking hate Rey. I understand it.
Yeah, because she's Iron Man.
But could you imagine, and let's talk together and even include those people, I think that people would have gravitated towards Rey more if she was Luke's daughter. If she was an actual Skywalker. I think people would have given her the benefit of the doubt. Is it stupid? Is it sexist? Is it racist? It's not racist, but you know what I mean. Is there a little bit of prejudice that she's better than this, but at least she's Luke's daughter. She's a family.
Look, I
just wanted her to be a Skywalker for real.
I don't know.
I think the people complaining about Rey would have accepted it a little more. They would have still been like, she's too powerful. If you don't change the fact that she's too powerful and doesn't go through a hero's journey, I don't fucking care.
Yeah,
but if she's Luke's daughter, she would have gone through a journey because Luke would have said, no, let us train together. You're my daughter. I'm going to do different things. It would have been.
But so that then has nothing to do with her being Luke's daughter because she was arguably from a more powerful family than the Skywalker family, right? So she's Palpatine's granddaughter. So would you agree with your example that if Luke had trained her and done all these other things and she didn't remember anything,
then we'd even get the trolls on our side.
Then that makes sense.
Cool.
But what they did to her character and what they did to all the characters beforehand, they're like, this is how you grow as a Jedi. And she's like, oh, no, she gets to bypass that.
God damn it, we forgot one of the most important things. And it's because our camera was going off. I'm going to go back.
Which part?
Reylo.
Oh, we haven't got to Reylo yet.
Well, they already kissed.
No, we're not. We haven't got to the point where she dies.
Okay, thank God. Okay, so anyways, continue.
So she has killed the Emperor and she collapses because after getting
too much power,
she got force sucked or life sucked and she dies on the ground.
So those haters that are like, Rey single-handedly destroyed the Emperor. No, she didn't. She used all of the Jedi's powers. Then she was defeated too. It was a simultaneous defeat. Now, I think JJ should have done more to show that while she was pushing back on the thing, she was getting hit too, or something to show her pain and her anguish, and it would have made the audience identify with her. But again, it's like,
no, I didn't have a problem with that.
Whatever, she falls dead.
Because she was practically dead before she got up. Like, she's passed out on the floor. She just had her soul sucked out of her body, and she's bruised and bleeding, and then she barely gets up to stand in front of him.
True.
So I'm not one of the people that love Rey, but I'm not a Rey hater either. So I think that scene was fine.
Okay, and then Kylo crawls out of the hole.
So she's dead on the ground, and then we see his hand come up. It's been done a million times.
Thank God, yes. But I liked it.
He awkwardly cradles her up.
Well, he's had a hardcore crush on her this whole time. In my opinion, he's the one crushing on Rey. He's intrigued with her, and it makes more sense if he had kissed her. But this is 2019.
You're jumping ahead.
You do not have fucking consent. God damn it. What am I jumping ahead?
She's dead. He doesn't kiss her while she's dead. He stares at her and he's caressing her, and then he heals her back to life. He has
the Force.
Yeah, he has the Force thing, and he puts his essence into her in a PG sort of way.
So where did he learn that?
There's a dyad between the two of them, so they know everything.
The fucking dyad. I thought you were gonna say Luke taught it to him a long time ago, as he taught.
No, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you're right.
It has to be because that they're the same part of the same thing.
He can't use Force healing as Kylo, but he's Ben now, and he's back to the light.
He's the new clothes, so he can use different powers.
So, but it works differently for Ben. He transfers the rest of his life essence into Rey. So I guess
I don't think it works differently. He was just probably super weak and decided that I'd rather her be alive.
I think that it's so ambiguous here. I think they're transferring life forces, and because yes,
yeah.
Anyways, so that's why he uses it as his dying sacrifice to give his life for Rey. Not I'm gonna force heal you, and I was gonna die anyway, and I force healed you in time, and then I'm dead. No, because it's shown in the comics. Again, I'm the only one that read them. The Snoke comic meant nothing. It was all a misdirect. Except for one scene now makes more sense. Snoke fucking shoves Kylo in his training down a fucking hole. He falls. He's going to die. Last second, stops himself. It empowers him. He stops himself. So that what must have been what happened here. Fall, stops himself. Climbs all the way up. Mm-hmm. And completes that. So he gives his life for Rey. Then
they have a moment.
Well, before he dies, she kisses him.
Right. Mm-hmm. So she wakes up. She notices that
big old smile.
Ben gave his life for her, and she.
Well, she doesn't. I don't think she knows. I don't think that she knows that he's about to die. Maybe.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm saying he gave his life for her. See, you're on that theory. I'm on the other theory. She kisses. This is a guy that murdered an entire village. This is a guy that murdered that old dude. This is a guy that murdered 5 fucking planets simultaneously, oversaw it. This is a guy that murdered his father. This is a guy that murdered fucking, helped kill Leia, attempted murder on his mother. This is a fucking awful guy. I understand, Luke wanting to save his father. He's not going to kiss his father. He's not, if it was different, it makes no sense that Rey would be attracted to. I guess his fucking swollenness was that swole.
Thick
boy.
Thick boy. Really, just that was her animal instinct to get up on Mr. Swole. Because Rey's character is absolutely opposed. She thinks he's a fucking monster. And yes, he's redeemed in the end.
Kylo's dead. It's not Kylo.
Joe, shut up.
That's Ben.
I'm a Raylower, and you're just hating that my fan fiction came to life, and you can't handle it. It was Ben. It wasn't Kylo. It was Ben. Ben can be redeemed like Vader. Well, fucking, it's not like somebody came up and kissed Vader while his helmet came off of his head.
I don't think they want to.
Whatever.
Ben looked
this
better.
was stupid. I hated it. Even our audience was like, what?
The second time we watched this movie, people weren't laughing in the theater.
Clapped.
There were the person, the guy that was sitting next to me, he was there with his daughter, and he's just like, what? Several times when we're watching this movie, he was like, okay,
It's
good.
inappropriate.
I'm not the only one.
It's too far. And JJ was like, you know what? There is a segment of the internet. They're very powerful on Tumblr. They're very active. I don't want
Tumblr
to
go
piss
away?
them off.
No?
I don't know. Whatever. Twitter, Tumblr, whatever. And I guess that he threw a little crumb to them. And more than a crumb, because this film low-key horny. They're low-key horny for each other, and they kiss, and then he dies.
Yeah, so it
He
happens.
didn't need to die. I think it would have. Oh, he's making
Kiss of
bold
death.
choices. The bold choice would have been to keep Ben alive.
And Rey dies.
They fucking kiss, and they're together now, and that's how they bring balance to the Force. They become gray Jedi. You have a dark, and he also has dark tendencies, and it's so emo. And,
They both get gold
So,
sabers.
yeah,
and
he
let's draw
dies.
more fan fiction. He's the evil, and she's good, and they balance the Force in that way, and they live forever.
Yeah, he dies, and then as soon as he evaporates, we cut back to Princess Leia, where she's still on her bed.
Yes,
She
this was
knows.
very intriguing. What do you think that means? She doesn't leave until Kylo leaves. So did she transfer her good into Kylo, and she was manipulating him?
so.
Not manipulating, but like keeping him on the good side, and then
She had unfinished business. Like
Yeah.
Ghost.
yeah. Okay,
Force Ghost.
Force Ghost.
are we finally at the end?
No.
No.
Because then
How long is this
everyone lives. All of the important characters live. They all fly back. They blow up all the ships. And then we start seeing Star Destroyers inexplicably fall out of the sky.
So now we cut to Wicket, the Ewoks. We fucking see Warwick Davis's Wicket. I think his name was Wicket. It's been a long
Wicket,
time, and just inexplicably, First Order Star Destroyers are falling out of the sky. I mean, there's no rebel fleet attacking them. They just fall out of the sky.
Yeah, 'cause the entire rebel
lost
fleet is
communication,
everywhere else.
self-destruct.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Do you see now? Even you people that love this movie. No,
I don't know, man. Maybe my rating might be different now.
So then these fucking things. I'm telling you, it's going to get worse. People are going to pick this apart even better than we just picked it
Yeah.
apart for 2 hours. I can't wait for all the.
But we have to
videos
do everything
come
from
out.
memory.
Yeah, this is fucking pro level shit.
Yeah, we saw it yesterday.
Anyways, whatever. She goes to Tatooine.
Yeah,
She
well,
buries.
that's the very last.
No,
thing that
everybody
happens.
has. They celebrate. Everybody celebrates.
Yeah,
Everyone
and what,
starts
I wanted
waiting.
Force Ghost here. I want this is when the Force Ghost is supposed to show
In my
up.
mind, I
Leia's
was
supposed to
like,
be there. You're supposed to be like,
Anakin, dude, you would have got a whole fucking point from me. A whole goddamn point if Hayden Christensen Anakin shows
I don't know
up
if I like
again.
him that much. But
I fucking love him. I hope he gets his own Disney Plus series. How about
I
that
don't
shit?
think he
As
is.
Vader killing all the fucking Jedi.
All right, I watched that.
On Disney?
That'd be cool. On Disney?
You just crushed my hope.
You did. You just said it in that sentence. Like that's like kill all the kids on Disney. I was like, wait, Disney.
Yeah, it's a mixed message.
Damn, you're
Yeah.
right, Joe. That series ain't happening.
Nope.
All right. Anyways, but no Force Ghost Con instead.
The Slug is back.
The
Slug gets a hug.
Slug gets a hug. We see Chewie finally get his medal.
That
So
was-
I really wanted to see this. We talked about this in a really long discussion
That was
video.
Han's medal, or maybe Luke's medal.
I think it's
Either Hans or Luke's.
Yeah, but there was one of the things that I kind of joking. I was like, I kind of want to see it. It'd be really cool. It's like, Chewie never got a medal. It was kind of a joke. And when I saw it, it's like, man, this feels cheap.
It does feel a little weird.
I just like I didn't want this at all.
Why did he get a medal and then nobody else got a medal? What about Finn and Poe?
I
He
don't
deserved
know.
it long time ago.
Maz is.
Well, that was a personal apology from J.J. Abrams, who said one of his biggest regrets in The Force Awakens was having Chewie walk right by Leia after Han died.
yeah.
And you see there, not only does he walk by Leia nonchalantly, but he stands there and looks off into the nobody's even talking to him and celebrating with him. He's just like this, it's so awkward. And so he did right by Chewie here. Chewie is the emotional center of the film, and then he gets a medal at the end.
But he also
it's the
bait
only
and
thing
switch.
the only thing that made me, and not even with his death scene, with his crying at Leia's death is what got me. So guys, she goes to Tatooine. She buries the two lightsabers.
Oh no, we haven't got through the Lando scene. We mentioned it before, but like there's a bunch of awkward shit that keeps happening in the movie. It's not my fault that I didn't film this
There's
thing.
no proper setup.
Who are you?
Lando is sitting there by himself.
Let's find out.
Yeah, no one's talking to Lando.
What?
And someone who could be his daughter sits next to him. Could be a daughter, could be a love interest. We have no idea because they didn't explain anything.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they're like, "Oh, General, where are you from?" And he says, "I'm from the Gold
Yes,
System."
we already explained this.
Yeah.
Moving on.
But it's
Can I
dumb.
go to Tatooine now?
If you want,
Sure, go ahead.
I'm trying to wrap the video
No,
up.
we're
It's
there.
ridiculous.
Well, you keep bringing up comic shit that doesn't matter. It's your fault.
Hey, this isn't all extensive. If we're going in, we're going all in.
Yeah, but they weren't in the movie.
You're right.
You're
I'm
trying to
sorry.
fix it.
Go
You're
ahead.
trying to fix the movie.
Finish. Did we forget anything? So
No,
far?
they go to Tatooine and she slides down the sand and then she buries some lightsabers with some new force power called force shoveling.
It's a callback. I love the music here. It's
Yes.
like it rhymes. It's like poetry. And she goes down there. She buries the sabers, and
But it's a new power. We've never seen that force power before.
burying the sabers, she
Yeah.
force pushes the sabers in the goddamn sand, Alex.
But
But
no,
Anyways.
it's force shoveling.
Anyway, this old lady shows up with a camel.
In the middle of the desert,
I
in
thought
the
she
middle
was
of nowhere, this old lady shows up.
and she says, "Who are you?" And she says, "I'm Ray." And then she looks over for approval, for permission.
Well, no,
I
Ray,
keep going back and
Ray
forth on
who?
whether I like this or not.
It's so if you look at it from the perspective of the old lady, it's the weirdest shit ever. It's like, hey, who are you? I'm Ray. Ray who? And it's a long scene where she's staring away, and she goes, Skywalker, and it's like, what the hell did you do that for?
Now you're nitpicking.
We've been nitpicking for 3 hours.
Yeah. Okay. She says, Ray Skywalker. Oh.
Oh, cool.
And
But
bye.
Ben wasn't there,
But
and it pissed me off.
She got fucking approval from Leia and Luke. I swear to God, they nod their head.
They do.
They do?
Yeah.
Okay, you support me. Cool. So I think then I like it.
But Ben
I'm
wasn't
switching from not liking it to liking
I
it.
still think the rise of a Skywalker was Ben. She's not.
It is, Joe.
He's a Palpatine, too, though.
Don't
'Cause
you
you got
know
that weird
that
Palpatine.
Well, no, I don't wanna-
the titles have always referred to multiple characters? The Force Awakens,
She's
not
not a
only
Skywalker in my eyes. That's what I'm saying.
All right, so you're on the no Skywalker
She's a
team. We're on
Palpatine.
the
She's a
Skywalker
Palpatine.
team.
She's a Palpatine.
Yeah, we know that, but now she's a Skywalker.
Well, Skywalkers are Palpatines.
Never.
That's fucking true. So it's everything. Like, just it rhymes. It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Yeah, it's like bad poetry. You know, the
Okay.
kind that you don't want to hear from anybody.
Okay, so stuff that I wanted to get at the end. We're gonna have to break this up and make little top 10 videos so that people can consume it.
What
if
was your-
you've gone through this whole video, I fucking love you. Thank you so much for doing
You
that.
trooper.
But here's what I wanted to
You're on your
say.
fifth beer. Or
If
sixth.
if they had added 30 to 40 minutes onto the film to make it as long as Avengers, if they had cut Zori Bliss, if they had cut Janna, their intros and their arcs, if they had cut the Sith dagger on Ochi, which you don't need if she's been manipulated birth by Palpatine, then and that was set up in the lore already. If Palp's return was also set up in the comics too, and it wasn't used, if Dio was cut for more time, if you'd done all these different things, this film could have worked.
They could have fleshed out the Knights of Ren, which would have made more sense, which is really important. The other thing
With
on
all
that
that
list,
saved time, you could actually make this film and the direction work with some minor changes here and there.
I think one of the worst things that happened in this film that we have to talk about that is like the gotcha moment that I didn't appreciate, like them saying, "Oh, Chewie's dead." Oh, never mind, he's not dead. Was terrible, and there was no reason for it whatsoever.
Right. They do that with C-3PO too. So, there's bold decisions here, really. Kylo dies. Well, no, he doesn't die, and then he dies.
He pulls a Vader, yeah.
Leia dies, so I guess that is a bold decision. But
I mean, is it really?
Kylo didn't kill the Jedi Temple in the comics. Palpatine dying Palpatine dies the same way. There's no Force Ghost Khan. There's no Empire versus Empire. We got so close. I was so close to getting that Empire versus Empire. Anyways, so the preferences on Rey's storyline I wrote here. Here's what I wanted. I had 5, and this doesn't affect my rating. I just wanted to put this out there. The one thing that I wanted the most, who's Rey's parents? I wanted her to be the daughter of Skywalker, number 1. Number 2, I would have been accepted the midichlorian birth. Number 3, she's a blood relative of Palpatine. I thought that was interesting. They went with that one. But that was number 3. So they went with my third option. Number 4, she's a blood relative to Han Solo, Leia. I would have rather have seen Palpatine than that. And then number 5, she's a nobody. She's her own character. That's why I hated Last Jedi. That's the worst one, in my opinion. Though it's fun for people like the Broom kid, who you don't have to be a Skywalker or a Palpatine to have amazing Force powers. But now we're back to that. So.
Yeah, I mean, if your amazing Force powers are like you got to use a broom, then it's not all that amazing.
I am tired of talking. So that's it, guys. That is our complete breakdown. So as you can see there, there's all the bad up against the good. And does anybody want to change their? Or we never got Joe's rating and we never got Alex's rating.
What was your rating?
We had to go all the way to the end. Well, my rating I did in the Angry Rant last night, and I gave it a 5 out of 10. But I had a night to sleep on it, so let's go with one of y'all first.
I was thinking about it last night too. I think for watching it without the breakdown and everything, well, we saw it twice, I would have probably give this a 5. It was an average film, but once we get down to the nitty gritty, the Star Wars fandom, I might have to deduct a point.
All right, 4 out of 10. Yeah. Alex,
I think that this is. If you look at this versus all of the movies that even just came out in the last 5 years, this one is better than the average film. I think it's a very below average. It's one of my least.
This Alex likes this film more than me and other Joe.
This is one of the worst Star Wars films. Period. Like I think it's damn near close to the bottom. It's not my least favorite for sure. But if you look at just how beautiful it was, there was some actually well-shot scenes. There was some fun to be had in this film. The first time I watched it, we had dinner together, we had a couple beers, and ignoring some things, I was enjoying parts of this film. There was parts where it's just like hard not to enjoy it. And then there's some parts that really pissed me off as a fan, and then pissed me off because, I used my brain, and then none of it makes any fucking sense. And so...
That's why I was like, I was at a 5, but once the other side.
Yeah, I mean,
it's tough.
But if we're on like the Star Wars scale, then yes, this is super below average. But you're talking like if it's on just every movie compared to this one, we've seen some real stinkers.
Joe, I've seen some mega fans, Star Wars channels giving it a 6.
Yeah,
so it's like
I'm thinking that this compared to all other films as bad, and it loses like 5 points.
You have to
for
put
being
your
bad.
critic stuff in here too.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give this one. I'm gonna go with a 5 on the Star Wars scale. It's one of my out of the 9. It's not the bottom. Definitely not the bottom. I can't decide if it's the second worst or.
That's rewatch.
You don't like the Attack on the Clones and the Phantom Menace.
And Last Jedi. No,
even Last Jedi.
I think Phantom Menace was better than this one.
Okay, and guys. After we go through all of the plot holes, I'm sorry, I was already at a 5 out of 10, but I didn't realize how many plot holes there actually were. In my video, I was like, I can name you 5. Now we can name you 20. Now we can go through all the McGuffins. Now we can, and as this film is going to be torn apart by critics online, once they get a hold of the DVDs and everything, and they analyze it, there's going to be things that not even we noticed. And I just think that this is a 4 out of 10. And just... we were going to do a big, long video where we rate all the Star Wars films, and I was going to save this for that video, but I'm going to give it to you. The beginning of the series, Phantom Menace, considered one of the worst. It was going to be a 4 out of 10. This film ends the franchise 4 out of 10. See? It's like poetry. It rhymes. That's how I end the video. Thank you guys so much. There is one thing I wanted to say. I love lightsabers. I'm collecting them, and I was like, what lightsabers are still out there that exists? Well, we don't have a cache of kyber crystals anymore. That was at Planet Killer Base, and maybe they're out there somewhere, but we don't know where they're at. So we forgot to say that Rey constructs her own lightsaber. It's not a switch; it's a flip switch, which is interesting. We've not really seen.
It looks like the tip of her staff that she's been using all 3 movies.
Really? Yeah, and it's even got a little bit of Star Wars Galaxies has like this Outlander kind of look to it, where it's like tusks and stuff, and they're like, well, nobody's ever seen that, so nobody's gonna put that on their lightsaber when they come and spend $200. Well, now Rey has something like it, right?
Yeah.
So she gets it, and it's yellow. It's not orange. It's fucking yellow, right? Is it yellow or is it orange?
No, it looked yellow. It looked like a gray.
And so I think it's
Jedi.
a synthetic kyber crystal in there that she made herself. So what lightsabers are out there? obviously
The green one.
Rey's, which is no longer Rey's, she gave it back to Luke, and Leia's are buried. Let's not count those. But ones that are still out there is
Kylo's
Luke's
is
green, my favorite. Maybe Anakin's lightsaber because Vader's hand got cut off. Where did that lightsaber go? And then Rey's. So
nobody knows.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about ones that fell in space, they're gonna be harder to find than one that's just like sitting in the shore.
Anakin's doesn't
They
exist.
found
You're
everything.
right.
In
No,
space.
I'm not talking about like Kylo's. He just threw it in his
fuck.
water.
That's right.
We know they work when they get wet. He was wet the entire fight, so it's just like
Kylo's is out there too.
You
I want to grab
beach,
Kylo's.
Go on the beach early with a metal detector, and you'll find one just in
Have
the
you
sand.
seen those waves?
All right, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Where do you think the Star Wars universe goes after this? Do you think they make more with Rey? Do you think when the actor Daisy Ridley is 20 years older than she is now, they'll bring her back out as a Jedi Master and she has her own film? And I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
And another thing. No, I'm just kidding. It's too long anyway.
All right. Bye, guys. Thank you so
Bye.
much for watching. Bye.